Good morning, traders out there. We're in a fast market as it looks like PPI with a surprise result coming in and shaking up the market today. A lot of people were expecting the markets to start to drag down, and with this PPI, this could give us a little bit of a lift off. Will this be a blow off top? We'll have to wait and find out, guys. And we'll take a look to see what's going on in the action. Let's take a look right now at the SPY. You can see the SPY climbing right now and continuing to push off of the number. I think we got to watch to see if we get some type of turnaround. But right now, we're hanging in there, and markets are going higher. The SPY coming in, PPI, surprise, coming in here, and it fell 0.5% seasonally adjusted after being flat in March and up 0.2% in February. The 12-month trend unadjusted final demand prices were at 2.4% higher than April in 2024. The core final demand, less food and energy trade, April changed down 0.1%, marking the first decline since April 2020. That's one thing that's good to see there. The final demand breakdown. We could take a look at the services. Services were down 0.7, the largest monthly drop since PPI's inception. That was in services. So big drop there in services. Trade margins and wholesales and retail fell 1.6%, accounting for most of the decline. Other services sector and trades and transportations were down 0.3 and 0.4%. Major contributions, machinery and vehicle wholesale margins down 6.1%. Food and alcohol wholesales, portfolio management, airline passenger services, and travelers accommodation publishing significant declines, offsetting the gains of outpatient care at 0.3, and inpatient care and furniture retailing also rose. Goods were flat, so we don't have to worry too much about there. When we take a look at the intermediate demand, processed goods were up 0.2%. Unprocessed goods were down 3.2%, nearly 60% decline from unprocessed energy materials. So something definitely to keep an eye out for if we continue to see this PPI drop further. Of course, looking ahead, we'll see what happens with this. How does the reaction push on this? Another thing to keep in mind, we do have the big bad whoop, Jerome Powell, going to be speaking in just a few minutes here. He should be coming on in a little bit here. Let me see if I can actually get that interview and speech kind of ready to go here. I think that's one thing that we definitely need to watch this morning to see if we get any remarks, right? What are we going to do? What are we going to get from there? We'll have to wait and find out. It's supposed to start at 8:40, so it should be starting up in just a little bit here. I'll go ahead and I'll try to get that video set up there in a little bit here. But like always, guys, smash the like. We got a lot more for you guys today, and we'll take a look to see what's going on. We'll go to the sunrise report. I'm not even going to go to the playbook because the playbook was more based on the downside action to come in. And if the market stays the way it is, there's no reason to even look at that, right? If not, I'm looking at euphoric names to go higher. So if the market can keep ripping, euphoria names sound good, right? But if we do get a turn, those are also going to be the names that turn around just as fast. So I think here you have to be flexible. You have to be ready to flip-flop on both sides, being able to take day trades to the upside and then also being able to get out and take some shorts at some point, because we are reaching a point where I definitely think we're overbought and we're getting to the point where it's nothing but buying. And then that's always bad news because at some point, some bulls are going to get stuffed. So we'll see what happens there. Palantir going higher through that 129 tells me to, just stay off of it for right now. Even HIMS could get a rip right now. I was taking a look at ETHU. I was thinking about shorting in the 63s here, but with this report, it's kind of hard to get short on Ethereum here. Even though the market's going up higher, Ethereum did a small spike. So we'll see what happens. But the SPY is still hanging in there right now and pushing higher, 586.14. We can talk about the sunrise report. We got a lot to talk about on there. So let's get to it. We'll talk about some of that action. We'll get to Jerome Powell's conversation. I am trying to go ahead and get that set up here. Let me see if I can find that on YouTube. Jerome Powell, where you at, man? So let me get that set up here. Sorry about that, guys. I should have had it already set up there, but I'm kind of setting it up here in the background. So we'll get that going here. Jerome Powell, we'll see what he's saying. We'll see if he changes the market, right? Can he make the market move? We'll find out, guys. All right, let's keep it going. Let's get to the sunrise report. We'll talk about some of that action. And then, of course, I'll try to catch some of the comments that are coming out from Jerome Powell. Let's get to it into this morning's Sunrise Report. Guys, let's talk about the market overview. Of course, stock futures were actually falling on Thursday, but now starting to get the lift with this report. We'll take a look to see what happens. Of course, this is driven by the rally, of course, was driven by a temporary U.S. and China tariff truce. We'll see what happens with this. There's major moves out there this morning as Foot Locker is up massively, 82%, after a $2.4 billion acquisition from Dick's Sporting Goods. Yes, you heard that right, guys. Dick's Sporting Goods going out and making a purchase of Foot Locker. I'm going to be as straight up as I can be, guys. I think this purchase was straight up dumb. Why? Because I just don't see it at all. Why would I want to have Foot Locker if I'm Dick's? I always think about purchases and like, hey, are you trying to get a competitive advantage? Or maybe you don't have the competitive advantage and you want to get the competitor to help you there. Or maybe it's a matter of margins and you want to increase margins, right? In this case, I don't understand this at all. Foot Locker makes 0,000 shoes. They don't make the shoes. They sell the shoes, and the shoes come from different brands. Dick's already has majority of those brands already in their system. They already have it in their stores. Why go this route? I don't understand it, guys. I don't know if there's something that maybe I don't know. I can tell you guys in the earnings, Foot Locker is not an attractive company. It's a dying brand in the malls. So I just don't understand this purchase at all, guys. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell me why Dick's would want Foot Locker. But even myself, there's plenty of names that I'd look at. Foot Locker would not have been on that list. United Health, let's take a look at that as the DOJ investigation reports into medical fraud. And this is all based on the Wall Street Journal kind of mention. We got to continue to watch to see what happens. But this is why I did not want to touch UNH. I thought this was a falling knife, and you're catching that falling knife, and you took another stab yesterday, right? So if you are catching the falling knife, you got to understand that you're going to get cut. You're going to bleed. Now, the question is, how much do you want to bleed on this name? How much do you want to hang on here? And is today the day that UNH turns around? Well, you guys can play that game. I can't blame you for doing it. There's going to be some returns there at some point. But I feel like it's the hero trade. And the hero trade for me is a lot of times the trade that ends up being the zero, right? And so heroes ends up being zeros. And I just don't want to go after this one. No need to be the hero in UNH. We'll keep it going, and we'll see what happens with the headlines. Alibaba also down big in pre-market, down 5%. And earnings missing here. Net income at 12.4 billion yen versus 24.7. So definitely a big miss there on the earnings. Not looking good there on Baba's earnings. We'll see if it can actually hold on to the move. It's been holding on to the move. But, I mean, this earnings report, definitely not one you want to see. Ubisoft it trades in the pinks because it's a French company. We're talking the video game company, and this is horrible, guys. Negative 18% after weak full year earnings. Net bookings fell, and it just shows you that the gaming industry is going to be a tough one moving forward. Also, just the expenses that are rising there. EA is another one that I think eventually it might give up this long-term trend line. All right, we'll see what happens there in EA and different mentions out there. Let's keep it going, guys. Stocks, of course, keep getting pushed by the China and U.S. truce. We'll take a look at some other action there. Let's get to Walmart as Walmart's earnings came in, and we did get a warning from Walmart that's very careful and something to look at. Of course, the EPS at 61 cents beat here, and revenues at 165.61 billion, missed by a hair. The first profitable quarter for the e-commerce side of things for Walmart, just showing you more and more how they're taking away some share from Amazon and how Walmart Plus has been a great venture for Walmart. Tariff concerns, of course, coming in as Rainey warning of rising prices in June. So he's already stating that prices will be going up in June. This is why I think it's very important to watch to see what happens with the tariffs, not in May, but in June and July. That's when I think we could start to see further downside action as the prices start to rise and we actually start to see inflation hit the tape. Right now, we're not seeing inflation hit the tape. Everyone's expecting to see it. It's kind of like when we started to see the effects of the pandemic really kind of affecting the inflation numbers. We all were expecting that it was coming, and it just kept kind of rising. I think the important part here, guys, is not trying to jump too early on the tariffs. Right now, we're riding this wave higher. There is going to come a time where the tariffs come in and do affect things negatively. Right now, it just doesn't seem like it is. Tariffs on China, of course, were temporarily cut for 90 days. Doesn't mean that it has to stay there, right? There could still be some bigger kind of escalation that happens. All right, the outlook for Walmart at 3.5% to 4.5% sales growth expected for next quarter, and no EPS guidance due to the tariff volatility. That's a big hint there that Walmart's giving you. All right, we'll keep taking a look to see what else is out there. But of course, Foxconn coming out with some comments from Apple, and Trump criticizing Apple and criticizing Apple's India production and wants it to build here. Well, then do something about that, Trump. Actually hold true to your stance on China to give Apple the ability to come to the United States. It's easy to say it that you want them to build here. There's a whole nother game when it costs Apple the amount that it would cost to build iPhones here. But Apple does plan to build 25% of its global iPhone production in India by 2027. So giving you 2 more years for that. Of course, right now it stands at 90% in China. So I think that's one thing definitely to take a look at. If you look at Alibaba, the good signs of things were the revenues were up 18% and driven by AI adoption and public cloud growth. I think this is what you continue to watch. That cloud growth is not a bad look. Now, of course, there is mentions from a deal potentially coming from Trump in Iran. That's actually causing the oil markets to come down here. And we got to continue to see what happens on oil. But this could be kind of what Trump is trying to do, because when you bring oil down, you definitely affect inflation. And there's one way to hold inflation down, and that's bring oil down into the 50s and into the 40s. We'll see what happens. Of course, we need to see what happens on the falling on this potential U.S.-Iran nuclear deal, of course, that could add 1 million barrels of oil supply. That's something to look at. Of course, OPEC raised output in May and June by 411,000 barrels in May and June. And I think this is something to watch, because now we need to see what happens with OPEC's reaction, right? How will they react to this deal? Will they go ahead and slow down the oil output? Because if they go ahead and Iran gets that increased oil supplies, OPEC puts that increased oil supplies, the prices are going to plummet. All right, we'll see what happens there. United Health, of course, still in their investigation. We don't know what's going to happen there. There's so many kind of alleged kickback schemes and things that are being talked about. I'll tell you one thing. Whenever I hear mentions like this, I stay away. And some people are going to hit me because I didn't get the gain in SMCI when it's on the way back up like it is right now. But I'll tell you right now, there's a reason why I avoided this. It's called the falling knife, and it has a negative story. And I've learned in my years that I don't want to touch these companies, because there's nothing like losing an investment. And we're not talking about losing on a trade. We're talking about losing on an investment where it kind of gets really hit overnight, and you're pretty much losing out on majority of the value of your trade. I think it's okay to take YOLO trades, right? Maybe you're buying a really cheap option at a crazy price, but at this point, I just wouldn't touch it. I still wouldn't touch SMCI. I don't like companies that have any danger the way these two have right now. All right, we'll see what happens with the SPY. Let's get back to the action here. Let's see how the 1 minute chart is looking like. We did get up there, and that looks like a top tick to me, guys. That looked like we were making it look really bullish. We went for a breakout, and now we're starting to drop here. So I'm going to get short on Ethereum right now. I'm trying to get short here. Let's see if I can grab it here. Oh, trying to get short here, guys, into the 6180s. Let's see. I got it there, guys. So I'm short a little bit of some Ethereum here. I could be also kind of getting some SQQQ here. We're looking for the SQQQs to make a move up today and looking to see if HIMS could come down, Palantir can come down, and those names. I'm taking a small shot right now with Ethereum. We'll see what happens on some other action. I was looking to kind of short this, remember, at 63s, but it just seemed a little bit dangerous there. I'm going to give it a little bit here to see if we can start to come down here. I only got 100 shares, so I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to still wait for the open, but we'll find out. Was that a topping tick on the SPY with good news? I think we got to watch to see if we get back up there, right? If we start to cut through this bottom line, 584, that's where I really want to start getting short. So I'm going to put a line there red and keep watching that all day. If we do get back through that line, I'm ready to get after things. Right now, I'm on a small short, and we'll see what happens. Doesn't need to be big. I can risk like maybe 50, 60 bucks here. Been doing really well on the bounce back. Got to continue to battle. That's the only way to do it. All right, traders, we'll see what else is out there. SPY definitely kind of moving all around here. HIMS is one that I also like for a continued downside move there. Palantir, another one. The momentum names. We got to look at the names that have been the hottest to start to crash right back down. All right, and we'll see on some other names like Bros. Can that come down? NNE. A lot of the high flyers we got to be a little bit careful of. Even like a Tesla. Tesla's made a huge move up, guys. It's already up there almost to, well, it hit 350 yesterday, right? And we talked about this break above going towards the breakout. And man, what a breakout it's been off of this kind of 90 EMA now holding. So a pullback to the 90 EMA 316 wouldn't be a bad move. I think we watch for those pullbacks. DocU is definitely on my signs to look for a trigger down. I could see this breaking the 89 today and going right back into the 90 EMA. 90 EMA puts it right back into 86.55 or 86.50s. So that's about $3 potential down. And I'm going to be looking at trades like this all day long. I think they're really setting up here. And we just got to watch to see that we can't break the high. We could go back there. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a certainty, but I don't want to miss it. And I don't want it to go all of a sudden just pow here down towards 514, and then I have no positions on. So right now I have that Ethereum. We'll see what happens on some other ones. Can continue to watch Palantir. In other words, I also talked about the VIX. The VIX is also in play today, and I want to see if it can get back above 54. That's going to really show me the signs that maybe we can go and playing some uncertainty. All right, catching up with the chat comments out there. Good morning to you guys. How we doing out there? Steph, Vic, what's going on, man? UNH came out and refuted the claims, I heard. Yes, that they did refute the claims. But the Wall Street Journal doesn't miss often, C-Shock. So that's one thing that I will say. They tried to hit the credibility of the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is the best rumor mill. If you're looking for media to actually believe in the rumors, Wall Street Journal would be on the top of my list, but that's just something to look at, right? Steph, good morning. Quiet market here, sitting on the hands, and sometimes you got to sit on the hands. Sometimes the small caps come out of play. I talk about this all the time. There's times to play small caps, and there's also times where they go away, and the trades seem like the patterns just don't want to hold, right? Hi, I really struggle to understand VIX analysis. So essentially, it's just against the look, right? And so we can talk a little bit more about this. It's the volatility reading, but it goes against the market. It has an understanding there that we can go into a little bit deeper. But what do you not understand about the analysis would be a better question, I think, for you so that I can help you. Right? Alexandre, let me know, man. I'm more than willing to try to explain it. I don't want to go into every single part of it, but if you have a specific question or maybe something that you're not understanding in the analysis, we can take a deeper look. All right, taking a look in the chat. What's going on out there? We're getting some comments here. Don't you have any events of sources of which I may get a free account? Well, what free account? What do you need? Are you trying to get an eval? Unfortunately, I can't give you an account, but I will tell you there's going to be some competitions coming soon. Might win you one. And of course, our accounts are really cheap. There's a small one that I think is as cheap, guys, as you ever will get one, right? $47. What else are you going to do, right? It's a good way to maybe just start to trade if you don't have the cash right now, and then you can look to get some bigger trades, right? Just stay small on that small account. It's a really small account, and you got to kind of have to work it up. All right. Here's an answer here. Like it if it's going up, I should size down my risk. Like if it's going up, I should size down my risk. No. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So as it goes up, yes, your sizing will probably come down because it shows you that volatility is increasing. So expect bigger moves to the up and downside. But it also tells you what? It also tells you correlation. So when VIX is above, let's say 26 or very elevated, what are you going to see? You're going to see that the stocks move more with the market. They're kind of more in tune with the market. And when the VIX is down significantly, stocks can move and kind of get a move that the market doesn't necessarily do, right? And so this is just ways to using this, and it's also a way for safety. A lot of traders buy VIX options calls to have some hedge protection if there is a VIX spike, right? So we could talk a little bit more about this with Michael when he comes on. We'll be starting up the show in just shortly. I think it's a really interesting day today. We'll see what happens. Did we get a fake out in the morning with this data? Will we even get back to that 586.50 today? Something tells me we won't, but we'll have to talk about it. Of course, let's get to the show. Let's start that countdown and let's get to the action. It's Trade the Pool. Do me one favor. Before we start on this countdown, look down below and hit that like. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money. It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
Good morning, traders. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on Michael Noss. What's going on, man? Into the black, as I like to say.
Yeah, I guess I'll look into it this weekend. I don't know what's going on. But again, I kind of like it. I'm in the void here.
I will say that I think it actually makes you like, especially like your kind of videos that you do on Twitter where you're kind of speaking to traders. I actually like it for it because it makes people focus more on what you're saying, right? And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to give them a message. So I think it could be a something that maybe you use a little bit, right? I mean, not a bad one, right?
I've often thought too of doing something, getting someone who can do art stuff because again, now I'm exposed, right? It's a blue screen. I usually just take a picture of the window behind me, but get someone who knows what they're doing and then do something cool. Right?
Why not? Why not? Especially this day and age with AI and kind of AI generation art. I mean, you could be making backgrounds left and right, guys. I remember when I first
Trade
started
the Pool office. We can make a virtual cool Trade the Pool office, and I could be hanging out in there maybe.
Yeah, man. I mean, hey, we're gonna open the prop floor someday, man. Trade the Pool is gonna get so big. We're gonna have some local offices, baby. That's what I want to have. We'll hold different branches. Michael will have one over there in Canada, and I'll have one over here in Florida, right? Why not?
Sure.
We
can travel. When it gets cold, I'll go to your office, and then when it gets too hot down there, you can come up to mine.
We'll pay the swap. Even though I will come up there to do some snowboarding for sure. So I'm sure they got some good mountains up there to get after. I love it. That's what I do. When it snows, you go into the mountains. Some people run away. I go to it. But hey, we won't talk about that. I love the weather out there in the cold Colorado action. That's where I definitely want to get back to. Let's take a look at this market. Surprise, right? Wouldn't you know it that we get an inflation data to look a little less scary today, and the market getting a spike on this? What are you thinking on this reaction as you saw the market react here with a little bit of a spike and then now kind of slowing down a little bit here?
It feels like, especially if you look at just the futures too. I always like to include the futures candle. Feels like we might be going into a little bit of a chop action, right? We had big, strong push up yesterday. Nothing happened. Like, this is yesterday's candle. And I think this is a good thing overall, right? Ideally, you would love to see, so we were trapped. Yesterday was an inside day, right? So we didn't make any progress on the day, either up or down. And then if we hang out inside this zone for a period of time, that to me is healthy action, right? Maybe a little bit of a break and then a close above, or a break above, close below. That's where we get bases and consolidation. Same kind of thing that happened down here is you had the big push up and then this consolidation. So it feels like this might be the move where we just want to consolidate for a bit before moving higher. You know, I was reading into just the strength of this move, and it's only happened 4 times before. You want to guess? Or 3 times before that we've had a push off the lows this much, this fast. Do you want to guess the other 3 dates? I bet you can get a couple.
Pandemic.
Yep, 2020.
Flash crash.
No, 2009 and then 1982. So the
There you
bottom
go.
of
the
bottom
financial
of
crisis.
every substantial, the end of every like massive, except the dot-com bubble, market, bear market happened just this way, like every crash, right? The only one that was a little bit trickier was the dot-com bubble, and that's where we had a couple bounces, nothing nearly this. There was a couple 5% bounces that failed, but yeah, every other bounce, right? And it's funny, you just, if you go look at it, looks a lot like this, right? And this at the time was the most hated rally of all time, so I think this will be the second most hated rally of all time. Kind of looks exactly what's happening here, right?
That one had the wall, though. That one had the Fed wall put behind it, I think, and that was the difference, I think, at least. We don't have that Fed wall here anymore to save us. And they can't come in here and cut rates with the inflation concerns that are coming towards the long run. So I do think that we are working our way back, but I still don't think those lows are out of sight for the year. But that's just me. That's just me because I really don't think so, Michael. I really don't think those lows are out of reach for the year. Just because of everything that is pointing towards economics later. And the economics is pointing towards a slowing economy, a higher inflation, and stagflation still appearing. Now that's what is showing. We'll see when the data gets there, if the data gets there, right?
Want to double or nothing our lunch bet here? Is that because I don't think there's a, I think there's a, I never say 0% chance. I think there's like a 5% chance or a 1% chance that we ever see those lows like again, let alone this year, right? I just think
we'll
market,
hold on to that.
The market
hold on to it.
believes Trump, and Trump, we know Trump will back off immediately. And this all happened when he had 2 years before the next election. And every day that ticks by, it's getting closer and closer. I don't think there's a single shot, and I don't think the market believes him anymore. I think we're pricing in right now that the market just doesn't believe there's going to be any tariffs. There hasn't been any tariffs so far, right? It's all just been this big negotiation. So I think they just don't believe there's going to be any tariffs, or if they do, they're just so late. And it's one of those things that it'll be so small that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think until you clear all-time highs, I ain't saying never. Until you clear through that level, this could still just be a bear market bounce. And we'll see what happens. It'd be the biggest one. It'd be the biggest one. But
that's what I was listening to. One of the Compound podcasts while I was at the gym. Josh Brown said, if this is the bear market bounce, the most elaborate in history. And I think that was kind of summed it up perfectly, right? We never had a bounce this big that turned in and retested the lows. We've never had a bear market that was fully created by one dude and then undone.
We're in different times, guys. That's where I feel like it's a lot of times people try to rely on the past, but the markets change. This is where I feel like some people like to just focus on the past, and that's okay. But markets change, dynamics change, options, zero DTEs change, right? That whole thing in the way that the market works, the market structure has changed, I think. And I think we're going to just get bull and bear markets sometimes inside of 1 year.
Yep.
I think that's
exactly
different.
What happened here.
That's different. That's completely different than the way that the markets reacted in the past. It took years for a bear market to end. It took years for bull, sometimes 10 years, 20 years for bull markets to end. So I think that's changed.
Yeah, and this is a good point from Cliff, right? They're printing money again, right? So this is the M2 money supply. And yeah, it's almost at an all-time high. So the Fed is definitely with us here, right? We're printing. This is way more money is being printed out there. Money's not getting taken out of supply the way it was here during the bear market. So, I'm not a big economist, guys, but this is definitely, and you can find this on TradingView, just M2SL. Yeah. It's just the pulls from the Fed database. So, right, we're printing money out there, which means we kind of have that backstop as well. More liquidity in the system's a good thing. And then again, now that tariffs, I think the market's just pricing them in is completely off the table of, I don't think it shocks anyone. He's gonna do some deal with China and he's gonna claim some small victory somewhere. And we'll move on. We'll be thinking about something else.
I think the companies are telling you enough, but I don't think anybody's listening to the companies. We'll have to wait and find out. Walmart already giving us insight of higher prices in June. Already. Without any insights of what's going to happen, they're already raising prices. This is why I keep telling you guys, when companies have the excuse to raise prices, and they have the excuse here, they're going to take the excuse. And they're going to blame Trump. They're going to blame the tariffs for the reason that they raised prices. And guess what? That's just going to increase their margin. So maybe that does keep the markets higher. But overall, I will tell you that their prices are going higher. So inflation is going higher. Whether we want to believe it or not, I really do think inflation is going higher. So this puts the Fed in a conundrum. This is stagflation that we're talking about here. Slower growth, higher inflation, and a tight job economy. This is not good news. I would just say that. At least the economics don't point to good news. And unless I think you can speed up again, that's the only way that you're saving it here.
Well, I think you hit it right. If their margins are gonna increase, then that's great. They're gonna make more money. They're gonna hire more people. They're gonna
they're adjusting margins, right? They're not gonna. They'll adjust it, right? They're trying to keep the same margins, right? So like I raised the price X amount so that I can have the same margins that I had before on the product. If I had 50, I used to do the same thing at 7-Eleven, right? If my cost for the item changed, I raised the price, adjusted it, and met the same 52% margin, right? That's exactly what they do in convenience stores. That's exactly what Walmart's going to do, man.
I wouldn't put it past them to raise enough to increase those margins, right? To get to the bottom line. Same thing, right? Remember McDonald's during the inflation, right? They raised rates until things started to break, right? They just kept raising prices and raising prices.
I mean, until they had this. They're still doing it.
Well, they hit this one bad quarter, and this one bad quarter, they basically said, "Okay, we raised price enough that people stop buying." Yeah. And then during this quarter, they said, "Hey, we're going to lower prices again," and it was one of those. That's capitalism, right? You keep raising prices until the consumer goes, "You know what? That's enough. I'm not going to go to McDonald's." And I think, just anecdotally, that's what happened to Starbucks. Starbucks got a little too big for its britches, man. You go to Starbucks with 2 kids and a wife, it's like $50 and you have like a coffee this big and you walk away. Yeah. I think that's what happened there is they hit that limit and they got to figure that out.
Now, that's all down the line. That's all stuff that I would say to start watching towards past June, right? Because Walmart's telling you that they're going to raise prices in June, meaning that the inflation wouldn't show up on the data until at least July. So this is why I'm talking about past June, past the first half of this year, watch for trouble. For right now, that still leaves a month and a half of good atmosphere for the market to continue to rally. So that does leave room for the all-time highs here, I think, at least for the short term. Unless you get a negative catalyst. Like I've talked about, we haven't gotten a negative catalyst in the market in a long time. It's been weeks now, where the negative hasn't come in. Well, I'm waiting to see what happens when we do get a negative.
Well, yeah, and if you had to put a gun to my head, you predict what's going to happen. We rip from here to all-time highs to piss everyone off. Maybe we break all-time highs by a little bit,
and then we work right back to that That bar that you have there, maybe.
And then we come in. I'm still in the camp of just there's so much data that year 3 of a bull market's choppy.
Chop.
Right? People are looking an excuse to take money off the table, to rotate around, to do all those kind of things. Now, this I would put way beyond chop. The 20% crash we were down, but it could still be I'm kind of thinking that, hey, the lows are definitely in. The highs, maybe we'll break them by a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here at 580, 600 at the end of the year. And we've just done this the whole time just to upset everyone. Maybe 2 years of that, and then digestion will take forward. So it's to the point now where it's like, okay, well, if that's right, then you don't have much more to give to get to that. Say we break all-time highs, you're talking about another 6-7% up. Man, there's days this year that we've been having 6-7%. So I would think that this is kind of what it looks like. And if you go again, we've had a Trump admin before. I keep bringing this, letting everyone know this isn't new. You can go back to, and this is exactly what happened in 2018, 2019, right? We had this fall off, we had trade wars, we had fighting about interest rates, all this kind of thing. We flew back to all-time highs. We broke all-time highs right here just by a little bit, and then we sold back down. So we ended the year pretty much, right? This was October, and then this is July of the next year, and we ended pretty much right where we got there. And so I'm kind of thinking the same playbook. We grind back to these new all-time highs, just like we did in 2019. Because if I looked and I said, okay, Mitch, this is, all right, if I hid the bar and said this was this year and you didn't pay too close attention, you'd probably go, yeah, it looks pretty much like this year. So all-time highs, they break, and then it comes back in a bit, and you get another kind of scare right here. I remember that was a 10% down move before the next bull market.
We will see what happens with that. We'll see if we do get the slowdown. I think that's the important part. Just everything's still pointing to the economic slowdown, and business cycles are just what I look at in that sense. And just the economists just keep pointing to business cycles on the slowdown. AI might be able to ramp that back up, but it just hasn't. It's showing slowdown. That's it.
But talking about the market, right? You buy when the recession's declared. That's like the greatest trading strategy of all time. If you go back and just run the stats, is the second they go, there's a recession, you put all your money into the market, and generally you'll get maybe a 5% pull down from there, and then it rips to new highs. Because as we know, the market's not looking back. The market is a forward looking. It's a voting machine. So yeah, if they do declare a recession, that will be a cue for me too to get back in. There's very few trading strategies that test better than buying the second they declare a recession. Other than the only other one is really don't fight the Fed. Whatever the Fed does, you follow along like a little, like that fish that I keep forgetting that sucks onto the whales. When it just comes to today, just looking at what's happening for today, pretty range bound right now. We have yesterday's high up here, yesterday's low. So I'm just watching pre-market highs of 586, pre-market lows of 583, and then always going to keep reminding myself and you guys that we are just stuck inside of this range right here. We're still inside of yesterday's range, which is inside the days before range, and then is inside this big gaps range. So we are range bound for the foreseeable future until we get up all the way to 589, or all the way down to even 582 to 575. So we are hard stuck, and that's fine, right? For the long run. It just means for day trading, you have to kind of tailor your expectations. If we have a lot of supply, and it looks like we have a lot of resistance above, because we have this day's high and yesterday's high, and then down below we have resistance that's way, way far away at this kind of 572. Looking at this chart right here, again, you're just tailoring expectations, right? If I'm buying something, unless the market's challenging this high and breaking through it, I can't hold it for too long. And if we're breaking down, if I'm short something, I know that there's a bunch of things that will stop the market in its way. So again, not a swing for the fences time. That was a couple days ago. Today is a hold tight until something breaks one way or the other.
We'll see what happens. We can take a look at some trading setups out there, guys. Let's get to the trades out there. If you guys got a stock you guys are watching out there, go ahead and throw it up in the chat. We'll continue to see what happens out there. But hey, it's looking like it just like the first reaction on the PPI was looking really good. Now it's just kind of a nothing burger, and we keep getting these nothing burger kind of open. So I think that's still just leaving room for profit taking, but we'll see if it actually happens. I feel like yesterday was the start of it. Some stocks did pull back overnight, and some stocks are still holding on this morning. So just got to keep watch.
Yeah, I've got for just the main one I'm watching again is UNH, just to see if we get a break back through VWAP. That one's selling off. So again, this is one of those for day trades. One of my favorite strategies, is just these VWAP fades, and I love them the most on things that are incredibly oversold on the daily, because you get a snapback rally and it doesn't even get halfway through the gap. You're talking 3-4%. On something as liquid as UNH, you're probably risking 1% to make 3-4%. So it's a good risk reward kind of play there. Everything else, all of the usual suspects, the guys that I like to look at, the Palantir and the HIMS and all these, they're not doing too much. It's just because the market's range bound, so it makes perfect sense that these ones.
Yeah, HIMS weaker than all of them, I think. At least from what I'm seeing. Palantir also, but I would say HIMS because like Palantir kind of made back some of yesterday's losses and kind of hung in there. It was kind of unchanged yesterday. HIMS definitely a turnaround there on the daily chart. You can see it. Makes sense if it can come back to like 56. 56 would be looking good on HIMS. I would probably be a buyer again. I think that's the key here, guys, is that I think you have to be a little flexible. If you want to make some money on the pullbacks, you're going to have to short these and then also probably maybe buy them back. I'm not saying these are coming crashing down all the way back to where they started their euphoria run, but I could see them hitting their 9 EMAs on the dailies, right? And that just makes sense on the dailies to get some
profit taking.
Exactly. And it's usually where your buyers are looking to get back in, right? And that's another thing, right? So like if I miss the first move, I'm always like, okay, give me a 9 EMA daily pullback. I can use the prior resistance as my risk, and then I'm trend trading from there, right? And that's what I'm seeing is working right now. And a lot of algos are like turned on for trend trading right now. And we got to continue that understanding that it's okay to come after these if you're trying to short them, but understand you're shorting the strong names. So I would rather be on the long side of things. You just have to time it if you're trying to play the pullback.
Yeah, the only one, and I was really excited as soon as I saw Foot Locker up 60%. I'm like, I'm going to short the heck out of this.
What
and I read
the
it's a
hell
buyout.
is that, Michael?
I'm like, who? I had to read like 3 sources. I'm like, there's no way anyone's buying Foot Locker. This is going to be the greatest short. And then no,
I don't think I've ever called an acquisition just straight up dumb. This is one that I would just straight up call it dumb. I'm just like,
agrees.
I don't understand it.
What? Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, why?
And then my problem is it you told me you were in a like economic boom, and this was just like kicking it out the water, and we were in like the 2020 market where it just seemed like everything kept going up. Well, then I understand. You go and you buy Foot Locker at a premium, right? But if anything, it should have been a take under for Foot Locker.
Yeah. I instantly is like, okay, when I read buyout, my brain instantly went, okay, it's probably Amazon. They're going to shut down the stores. They're going to use them as like places to store like boxes or something like that. And or Nike's buying like some crappy inventory or whatever. But no, it's like you're getting bought out, and you're getting bought out for like double. What are you even?
It doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't know how you pitched this to the board, and no one on the board was like, what drugs are you on?
Yeah.
Like,
we are a retail store which is already struggling,
drugs, man. Because the thing is also is like, if you told me they made a specific shoe and Dick's was just selling that shoe that much that they were like, well, we want to own this, right? But they don't make a single shoe. They sell shoes from other brands. We all know what other brands have been doing to continue their growth, which is what? D2C models, right? Direct to consumer mentality. Dick's is already doing what Foot Locker does, which sells shoes from other brands, right? Why on earth would you want Foot Locker?
I don't
I
don't
mean,
understand it.
I can go.
It's one of those. This guy's probably taking a shot, and he's like, "I'm going to be proved right, and I'm going to be the greatest CEO of all time." It's like, what are you doing? There's just no
Maybe if
shot.
Nike was just that like popular, or shoes were that popular. But if you look at the shoes companies, they're nice, but there's none that are like maybe Deckers. I would maybe think like, okay, well, maybe if you went and you bought Deck here at half the valuation where it was 250 and you got it down here, then I wouldn't be mad at you. I'd be like, at least you went for the growth name, right? And something that makes something that actually you can have now a competitive advantage in. Full Locker makes nothing, guys.
60 to 10. Yeah,
Dude,
this is just...
You know where you're trading at? It's a bad thing when you're trading 20 years back in prices. Look at the monthly chart. This is ridiculous, man. Here, look at this. You're trading in prices from 1986. If a company goes like this, right? If it goes up 230%, and then it comes all the way back down after 20 years of trying to grow, that's not good signs, man. That's not good signs. That doesn't
mean your business model is failing. Like
yes,
that's
there's
a
something
systemic
wrong with your business model, right? You should grow over time. I always point to the company that surprises me the most, AutoZone, right? This is what your chart should look like over time. This is what you want to see if you have the correct business model. It doesn't have to be the sexiest business, but AutoZone is a 100% good investment in the times that it just continues going, right? So, hey, we'll see what happens there, man. Definitely a crazy, crazy move. More and more brands like On and stuff like that have gone to more D2C models. They're still in stores, but they don't give up like they used to. They used to give up a lot of money to get inside of these stores. That's not the battle anymore. They need to have these brands in the store. So they're like coming after these brands like, yes, we want your shoes in our store, right? I don't understand what happened there with Dick's, but hey, Dick's definitely down. And this is not good news for Dick's. I think this could continue going lower. And in a time where you're expecting consumer slowdown, this is a bad looking move. I think what you do is you at least approach a trend line approach, like back down into like the 185s and 170s here. We'll see if it can continue going down today. If the market does bleed out today, this could be one that continues to bleed.
No,
definitely not a falling knife I'm catching here.
No,
what's up out there?
This is AT.
Oh,
XG.
BTC.
They're owning.
What is going on here?
Ugh, that's nothing. But I just, oh no, yeah, there it goes.
Oh, there it goes.
There's Steph saying they were buying Trump coin to hold on to. Okay, this again. I'm usually the permeable here. this is starting to feel a little toppy, right? Like this kind of stuff is. I'm usually the guy pounding the bull table here, but
you guys, I didn't have to say it. Michael said it for me, so
this is feeling Long Island blockchain. If anyone
whatever happened to justice,
and announces $800 million plan to acquire Bitcoin, which is fine. It's still dumb that these companies are just YOLOing into Bitcoin and people think that that's good for the company.
That's what
I don't understand why.
did.
And then Trump coin. Yeah, that's this is where, so I would love to go back to university because I took finance in university. I took economics in university and go to my economics prof and say, okay, let's do efficient market theory. I want you to explain this to me and just watch him squirm and say, this company, this stock is up. What is it even up right now?
Man, I'm gonna have to reach out to an old professor I had from a derivatives course. We're gonna have to bring him on and just mess with his mind a little bit.
All right. So explain efficient market hypothesis here.
At the end of the day, I don't believe in efficient Market hypothesis, EMH, guys. If you guys believe in that, I mean,
Why are
I
you
don't
here?
believe in it.
if you're here, if you believe in that, it means there's absolutely no money to be made in the market, and you guys should
Yeah.
go. You should be doing something else.
Yeah, you should be doing something else, man. At the end of the day, things are crazy, man. ARM is still ripping though. I think that's one stock that I want to continue to watch. Just calling out some of the bullish action too, right? Let's call out some of that bullish action. And let's talk about those names really quickly. We got about 2 minutes here. Another big move is that in the semiconductor equipment stocks, right? I mean, I'm starting to see some good moves there. AMAT,
When I'm looking here, one sector that's interesting to me, if tariffs, and this a buddy of mine brought this out, he said, well, if the tariffs are completely going away, which is what the market's pricing in, shipping companies, right? So what, Zim, that's one of those global. Look at the chart on this guy breaking out of this nice kind of tight base right here. There's one that Steve really likes. Is that the STNG?
There's SBO, there's Zim. I can try to get some other ones here.
Yeah, we have, because I'm just going through the sectors that are up the most today. We have boats, we have solar, we have psychedelics, which I absolutely love AI. I got, I'm a shareholder in MindMed. I got an email out with a Form 13G, and I'm like, I got no idea what this is. You throw it into Perplexity, it goes, yeah, this company took a 10% stake, and it just breaks it all down. It's amazing. UFO, which is our proxy for some of those.
We're open, baby.
That looks good as well. And then semiconductors. So let's see, just right off the open here, we are again in the middle of the range. I've got 586.50s pre-market high, 583.40 as pre-market lows. We're holding above the pre-market view up a little bit, so we're just waiting. So the first trade I got coming through here is Starbucks. Just tanked off the open. That looks like it's a little bit too much for me to take a move on, but look, was gapping up a little bit there and just kind of completely fell apart in the last 2 minutes before market open. Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic move there for Starbucks. I don't know if there's any kind of move or news or whatever.
You talked about their coffee being too expensive, Michael. That's what happens, man.
They heard us. They heard us. So far, nothing. So far, not much action. We're just waiting these first open. There's not really an opening drive where to be had. We're right flat from the open. You
got a pennant pattern on the SPY. Look to see if you break 586 and close above that towards 586.50s would be the bullish move here. So the key is though not that it can't touch 586, close above that to 586.50. So that would put a big bullish engulfing candle on all the pre-market action. So that's the bullish move here. Not just a 586 break. That's what we're getting right now. Could just be green to red. The key is that 586.50 break. If you see that break, that's going to take that move from the PPI that went to 586.49. So that'd be a good level to break here right out the open.
Yeah, just watching. Totally agree, right? That pre-market high, that's something we always look for. That's kind of the first level there.
Making the 33 breakout. I think this is the 4th or 6th time I've said that this week. Maybe now is the time that IonQ actually keeps going. We'll see what happens as I do see quantum names up, the QUBTS. And I see also SMR up today. We'll see if those can get going. Rigetti had a good day yesterday, having a good day to start the day today, and we'll keep an eye out on those.
The quantum.
Archer also continuing almost to 12.
SPY continuing to push here as well.
Here comes that 586.50s. Let's see what happens here. $586.40s right now. We're almost at 586.50s.
Yeah, we're getting very, very close there. And then just looking at kind of the whole market, SPY is getting down only 0.2% now. Q's down 0.25%. IWM, is this right? IWM positive for the day where everything else is down.
What?
Oh, what? Oh, well, they had a much worse day yesterday. So it's just weird to see IWM green where everything else is red. Usually the small caps can't get it going at all. Just going through this ETF list, nothing huge. Aerospace and defense is still doing phenomenally. Thankfully, I'm in a lot of ITB, I think it is. No, ITA. Yes, ITA. This has just been absolute monster. New all-time highs. So pay attention to aerospace and defense. New all-time highs. Great day. Even yesterday did very well, breaking to new all-time highs again today. So just focus on that zone. Google starting to trigger here. This might be a little bit too much from the top in order to get back in. Yeah, I wasn't super excited with really any of the VWAP fades that I found this morning, except for UNH. UNH was interesting to me. So I'm going to pay attention to that. I think that, again, there's going to be, I mentioned yesterday that I got into some UNH. This was obviously not the best time, but this is where we talked about that I was planning on DCAing in. So I'm probably going to add a little bit more today. I put, I think, 1/3 or 1/4 of what I wanted to put in yesterday. So I'll probably do the same. Whatever I did yesterday, I'll do the same today as well. And then I think I have 2 more tranches to put in, and then I'll either be right or the thing will stop me out, and it's the way it happens. So
Archer continuing now. That's above 12. I just want to mention that one. That's having a decent move there. Buy now above that level here, starting to actually hold here. Let's see if it can push above it here. It still didn't break that 586.50s, but it's hanging out by it.
Yeah, it's basing there, and we have all the kind of economic stuff out of the way, right? We've got some Fed guys.
Jerome, I know that's talking right now. Jerome Powell, the big bad wolf, man.
Is he talking now? When's he?
He was on at 8:40, but I don't know how long he's been on for.
Okay, that's interesting. So there might be, we might hold until he's done.
Completely
Sometimes
done. Exactly.
that happens.
Yeah, I think that's what happens here. But I'm watching Ethereum reject here. I'm still in it, guys. I'm just watching it bounce around here, trying to see if it can determine where it's going to go right now. Because if it does dump, I think the dump's going to be fast and hard. We'll see what happens. I'm still like I didn't add. I'm just holding that smaller position that I had this morning because that smaller position is allowing me to just stay in it right now and waiting to see what happens here, if we can get a move break or not. It's a nice rejection there on the Ethereum chart, but I still need to see a little bit more. I'll show you guys that chart and setup here. You can see here on the 5-minute, it keeps rejecting the 63 area. And I'm looking to see if it can go back towards 7 a.m. lows, which was 60.83. Just that move alone will give me a nice like $180. So I don't need to go oversized right now as much as I want to add right here by the VWAP. I'm just looking to see what happens with Ethereum. Back above 63s, that tells me, yes, I need to get out. But let's see what happens here, if we can get a breakdown or not.
Look at the, yeah, because
Ethereum still rejecting that high there.
Just going to the actual coin chart. This is one thing, and I've messaged TC2000 like 5 times, and I'm like, I'm really interested in your guys' software. Get crypto, and they don't seem to be like, I trade crypto, I trade currencies.
They're Jurassic Park like, Michael. Whoever runs that company is Jurassic Park like. That's the only thing I'll tell you.
Well, their scanning capabilities is far superior from TradingView, but I'm like, yeah, come on, like get crypto, and they're like, nah. Like, well, I'm not gonna buy 2. So
they like to deal with nothing but older traders, Michael. It's almost like they're not willing to accept the newer trader to come in and kind of help them out, like get customers. Like it doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Get some crypto going, but yeah, here's the Ethereum, the actual crypto chart. You know, range bound. Solana, same thing.
ARM going red here. We'll see if it actually cuts 132. Q's still hanging in there. Kind of, it's kind of still a bullish day right now. We'll say it's a bullish day right now, but it's just not really ripping off either. And with that PPI number, if the bulls really wanted to take it, I think they could have, right? At least with that number.
So did you know? Let me actually see. Were you able to see if JPow's done? Because I'm with you there.
Yeah, I'm trying to find him, and I'm not even looking at the talk here. But let's see.
I'll find it. I'll find
Yeah,
it
I think
here.
he's done with his remarks. Yeah, 13. Yeah, it's done. He was only on for. He was only on for I think 13, 14 minutes. So. It
Okay,
was a
because
quick
often when
speech.
he's up there speaking, the market won't really move because they're kind of like worried he's going to say something that's going to tank it. So you'll see the market get to resistance zones and just chill while he's out there. And then the second he leaves, then it does whatever it wants to do because they're like, okay, he's not going to say. And then I would love it for him to come back on stage one day and just like yell, sell them or something on the way out, just to really trigger people. But yeah, we're stuck between pre-market highs, and which is also the 2-day view app is sitting right above on the Qs, and then this 1-day view app, right? So this is, Brian Chan calls this the VWAP pinch. We're just hanging out inside that zone, just chopping back and forth, waiting for something to occur as we continue sideways here.
Back to break even here, guys. I might just cut here. It still could cut the support and really go down here. So I'm looking to see if it can undercut the support on Ethereum here. It doesn't look bad.
That Google was a miss. I don't know. I just hesitated. I'm going to look at my broker and it's going to have taken it because it's a robot. So this is why I want robots. But yeah, the short would have been right here on Google. And then the cover at the 2-day
Where's
view.
the AI agent, man? I want an AI trading agent.
Very, very soon. Don't worry. I've been bugging. I think our overlord's probably sick of hearing me saying, "Hey, man, how's the bots going?" Because yeah, that was one of those. I can't tell you why I didn't take that. It was a perfect signal. I said I wanted to take it, and it came through, and I just saw it. Not even that I missed it, and just didn't take it. So UNH dump.
Small risk now, guys. Only $13 risk on this Ethereum now. Looking to see if it can really just drop here fast to the 60s. It's dropping fast there right now. I might take this 42 just right here. Take the cash and run here to start it off. But I'm looking for a little more drop here. Let's see if I can get one more drop here and then just take the cash off here. There's a drop into 6140s. Let's see if I get one more drop there. Come on. Come on, Ethereum. Market's dropping fast too. I don't mind that at all here. Seeing the market drop. The Qs are starting to drop there.
Yeah, so SPY trying to test VWAP, put in a little bottoming tail at VWAP. So trying to break through below VWAP. Next thing to watch, I would say, is 583.40, which is pre-market lows. And we'll see if that ends up catching us or not.
Break even stop right now, guys. Moved it down there to break even as I'm looking to see if this can break the 6150s. And there it goes. There's the break. Not bad at all. Looking for a little bit break further down below the 6140s to take some cash off. It's coming back a little bit here. And we might get a break even attempt here. There's that break even spot there. Attempt trying to wash me out. I cut the stop there and looking to see what happens here on Ethereum.
Yeah, this is a very choppy open for the market. There's no kind of opening drive in either direction just yet. So we got to focus on that. So IQV. Okay. This is why I want to trade systems, because my system, the day trading system I'm building is telling me to buy this IQV, and this looks like junk, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, sometimes it's not your eyes that matter, right?
So I agree, right? It's the comment. Let's see what 10 a.m. brings. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. I'm going into the economic calendar, and there's really nothing. There's, at 9:15, which we're well past. There's 10. There's something at 10. There's two small numbers. Maybe the two small numbers equal one big. We got business inventories and a housing market number. Maybe.
I don't think it has anything to do with that, man. It's just profit taking if it's going to happen or not. I just think it's simple as that. I think it has nothing to do with the numbers or not. Maybe they can use it as an excuse, right? That's what we talk about. But I see these numbers all the time where it does this blow off top. I've seen it on CPI plenty of times. It does this quick move up And then we never get through that move. That's why I talked about, could we close up there? That's why I think it's important to watch for that move today. Sometimes we get this just topping wick from an economic data and we can't even get back past it.
Well, and just again, guys, I'll make sure you're always zooming out here, right? We are not only pretty much inside yesterday's range, but we are inside the day before's range, which is inside yesterday's range. So, right, we are getting very, very congested here. And again, it could just be one of those market needs to hang out for a couple days and we spend the next few days inside these ranges, right? So I'll zoom in here, just the last few days of the daily chart. This is why I think it's always important to have a daily chart open. This only lasts 4 days of trading, but you can see how much we've done absolutely nothing. Since, on Tuesday, we had that great pop higher. And then Wednesday, and now so far Thursday, we're inside of this candle, this pop higher. So that's just consolidation, rotation, a little bit of profit taking, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we're going nowhere. We're going nowhere fast for a little bit, which is fine. It just means, again, we have to trade those things accordingly.
All right, guys, hanging in here. Might take a $20 cut. I'm cool with that, especially as this was the trade that I was looking for out the gates here. Let's see if it actually continues or not. It could reject the 9 EMA, and then I actually get a momentum move down. We'll see what happens there in ETHU.
Yeah, Google, I just looked down at my broker, and then, yep, that I would have had that. Move that. So I took the trade in the broker. I just don't know why I didn't punch the ticket. So we'll continue to watch. We'll continue to go through. The only thing, again, I'm really looking for is that UNH to break back through. That could happen this morning, later today, whenever it is. Could not happen all day. So if it doesn't, that's fine. The beauty of having alerts is that I don't need to. I'll go peek at it every now and then, but I don't need to watch it super closely. Because I'm just waiting for.
Nice little cut back down on Ethereum. Let's see if the SPY can go here now, right back to the VWAP. I would love to see that, and then start to wash out here at 945 instead of a 945 rip. That's just me, of course. You guys trade on your own account there. We'll see what happens here. There you go. Nice move there for Ethereum here.
UNH is getting close there, but still not. I just have it as on another chart.
There you go. Nice looking move there for Ethereum. I'm willing to add another 50 shares here. Look to see if it can really keep going down here. There you go. Just added there, and it flushed. That's what I wanted to see there.
Yeah, Visa. That's a nice little move there with Visa. Someone pointed that out. All-time highs? Yeah, all-time highs. So good for Visa. Having a nice little pop there.
Okay, there we go. Nice looking move here on the first action on Ethereum. I'm up about 70 or 80 here, guys. I'm about to take some profits here. Just trying to make sure I'm past the 30 seconds. All right, good move there, guys. Now continuing down to the 6103s here. I might take the profits through the 6103s. It'd be a little bit over $100 here. So, hey, let's go. Let's go. SPY dumping here. I might have to push the target profit here. Yeah, I'm pushing it a little bit, bringing the stop up a little bit towards the 70 here. I'm actually cutting the stop here. Looks good here for the SPY. The SPY dumped fast here. Quick dump on the SPY here, guys. That was what I wanted to see for 945 there. Let's see if it can wash them out here. I'm actually taking even the target profit off right now. I'm going to stop on the break even here just because this could be a flush down. If it comes back, I'll look to readjust. I'm looking to take that nice little big cut down here. SPY cutting down fast here. Ethereum went down fast also. Could take the money and run right now in the 61. Could come to the 9 EMA. But I was looking for that 9 EMA rejection. Now I'm looking for that expansion away. Cut this 61 and I'm up big. So let's see what happens.
So yeah, the person talking about ETHD, absolutely not. And the reason for it, right, is always zoom into a shorter term chart, right? So take a look at this. This is a 2-minute chart on ETHD. And if you see gaps in your chart like this, that means there's just no liquidity and no volume. So the reason Mitch is trading ETHU is if you take the same time frame chart, you see, right, way more liquidity, way less gapping kind of action,
Ooh,
little
let's
gaps
go.
here and there, but way less, right? So you got to look, you got to get the liquidity where it is, right? So it makes more sense to short this one than to buy this one, even though, again, it will move the same. You just got to be careful of that liquidity, which means if you're wrong, things really move, right? And what you should be doing your analysis on, of course, is the actual Ethereum contract, because you see a lot of volume here, no gaps, nothing, right? So Ethereum came back up to its VWAP for the day and then failed that as well. So just be careful. Liquidity is a big deal because there's nothing more annoying than being right on positions and still losing money due to, you know, spreads and illiquidity. So
Let's go.
you're just going to be a crypto trader now, Mitch.
Let's
right?
go. Ethereum. Let's go. Flush it.
Yeah, there's a big, I don't know if you're seeing this on your chart, but there's just a really big support zone.
Look at the ladder,
overnight.
guys. Ladder approach here. Ladder approach. I've been driving the stop loss and driving the target prof with it. I think that's very important, guys. So when I start getting to these points where I get like that greedy feeling, I'll just bring a stop loss into the green and just look for that to continue to work for me, right? There it goes. It takes me out there. Yes, I could have maybe gotten the 60-30 exit and kind of pushed to it, but that was a momentum push. So I was trying to just ride it. I was trying to bring a ladder approach on outs, right? So I'm bringing a stop with it and a target profit on the bottom side. If it just nails down, targets get hit, right? And not a bad little opening trade here on Ethereum. And this was opened in the pre-market and added once it started to work.
Yeah, and you can see here, right? So this is what's going on. If you look at the actual, because of course, right, for those who don't know, Mitch is trading an ETF. That's going to track perfectly to the actual Ethereum. And there's a little bit of support going on here from overnight hours. And I don't even know if you call it overnight hours with Ethereum. Like what did, you know, there is no time with crypto, but yeah, nice little look. And this 25.15 or so, this might be support here and might cause some back and forth, some problems with Ethereum. To the downside, see if people start to buy at that previous support. Taking a look at the market real quick. Still nowhere near the low of the pre-market, not even the low of where that CPI print came out. So
there goes Ethereum, another leg to the 60. This is where I thought it could bounce at 60. So I just want to put that out there. This is where I thought it could bounce. I'm going to look for VWAP rejections now. So what's that? A support break and a move back to VWAP, rejecting the VWAPs now. So I'm looking for bounces to short now.
Made a quick $100 on Starbucks. Well, good work, man. Yeah, I don't know what that probably on the bounce there. I don't know what happened there right off the open.
Man, look at this stock, guys. Remember, hey, you were right. You were right, Michael. This stock don't want to stop, man. AEVA, man. This thing just keeps going. Yeah. This thing just keeps going, dude. What is going on with this stock? I don't think I've ever even heard anyone mention this stock. No one's mentioning this stock yet. This thing is
killing those guys that short the low floats are probably just getting run over and over. This like perpetual short squeezes you see in these kind of names, because people will look at that and say, this is a garbage company, let's short it. Dude. And then some Discord room or forum or something is continuing to kind of buy it up and
they're just riding that momentum. Archer doing well today. SMR doing well. Rigetti not looking too bad there. I'm just bringing the names that were doing decent. Ooh, Coin finally broke. That looks good for like a good short there. 250, 255. That's a nice one there. Coin starting to break back down. Palantir starting to break back down. AMD. Hims really let go. That was a bull trap if I've seen one. That's a nasty bull trap. That one's nasty. Just straight move up and then straight move back down in 15 minutes. That's going to be tough for buyers that bought Hims right now. They're getting stuffed. KLAC, one of the best stocks, still holding on. ARMS pulled back really quickly early. Looking around to see which one of these are actually hanging on. MOS, not a bad area. Quantum names look a little bit better than some of the others. But other than that, it's a tough day right now. CF, yeah. So it looks like some weird material names kind of holding in. Every other kind of bullish move that I have, other than AEVA and Archer, those are the only two that have like big green moves here. So we're starting to see some pullback and some profit taking. Now the question is, can they buy the dips? We'll see if they buy the dips here. What are you seeing out there, Michael?
Not a heck of a lot, right? We are still completely range bound in the market, and so
Tesla
I think you're
too.
right to look for kind of this relative strength, relative weakness. That's what I've got up here. Financials doing great. We got Berkshire, Visa, MasterCard, all these things doing well. A lot of tech is doing poorly. Amazon down 2.5%, Tesla down 3%. And then, healthcare doing well. So it's just, right, this is that Christmas tree look. And this is, again, what causes choppiness in the market is that you're not having everything rallying. You're not having everything selling off. You're just having, this kind of middle ground where finance loves what's going on in the market, tech not so much. So that creates this kind of chop back and forth. But we did just get a little bit of a green arrow here on the SPY. So I am just going to might have moved too far, look to take some SPXL. Just because we've dipped and then we've come back up, I think we could take a shot at 2-day VWAP as well. Hood, big down move. Yeah, Hood, it makes sense with these, right? Because they're just moving with crypto, right? So Robinhood, Coinbase, a lot of these names will move with crypto. And right, so you're having Bitcoin down a little bit today. It's not substantial, right? We're still inside this range, but on a 1-day move, we are down, right? What's the... Hold on, we're down 2% on Bitcoin right now. In the grand scheme of things, we're still inside this range, but a 2% down move on Bitcoin, that's going to weigh on your Robinhoods. It's probably going to weigh on your Weebles, your Coinbases. All of those things are just moving with Bitcoin, right? So
looking at the VIX here, VIX starting to get a little bit. I think the level I gave earlier, 54 on the VXX, is the level that I'll be watching to see if we start to really cut down a little bit here. Qs did one more attempt for the trend line break. There it goes with a rejection off the 517 look. 517s is a big watch, I think, for tech bulls today to see if it can recover. That's what I'll be watching on the Qs there. Right here, Palantir just rejected. I wanted it to get back to the VWAP. It just rejected even to get back there. So that's one thing that I did see there. Palantir not getting back to VWAP where I wanted to short it. Remember I just mentioned, it's actually letting go a little bit earlier. We'll see what happens on that one. Dust looks interesting off the 33s today. Gold, big bounce overnight. And you can see it in GLD, and it looks interesting to me to short it again. But that's just because I've seen the multiple attempts to the highs there. I would like for GLD to do this fake out right now, 294.50s, fails that, and then starts coming back through 294. Then you could risk the 294.50s and entry near 294, and not a bad approach, right? It's you give it a couple of chances to break new highs, breaks new highs, then you let go of it. If you start to see it break down, you can start to hammer on. So good risk to return, right? We got to look for good risk to return right now. I think that's the important thing.
I hope you're right. I know I'm talking my book because I do have this sizable position around $4 in JDXD. So I'm hoping, right, for this to get to 6 or maybe to 12. But so I'm trying to not express my bias there. But I do think gold kind of showed its hand when it attempted to make new highs there and failed pretty miserably at that.
That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see if you wanted to short it. That was a great sign that it failed.
I've heard this called the let's do it on the actual XAU. I've heard this called the Quasimodo pattern, where it's essentially like a head and shoulders, but let me just get my drawing tool. But you have just a higher shoulder. Like a typical head and shoulders would just look something like this, right? Where the second shoulder would be right there. In this case, again, I've heard that people call this the Quasimodo, where you have got one shoulder and then you have a failure at the next shoulder, and there's your neckline break right there. So, right, you got
Tesla breaking down a little bit, just mentioning that one.
Yeah, it's again, if we go and look at the heat map, it's really a tale of two markets: finance, healthcare, love and life. Big rip in healthcare, big rip in finance, tech down. So that's why when you look at the SPY, you see a lot of choppy, because those are the two kind of biggest sectors out there. You've got tech down, you got finance up. So then the SPY is getting pulled in both directions. it becomes really hard, right? Communications up big with AT&T, Verizon, all of these things. Consumer services up big, but mostly finance, healthcare, ripping. And then you have a lot of these retail, but again, it's weird to see Amazon and retail because most of their money comes from tech, but whatever. You have the tech not doing too well, right? MSTR, CrowdStrike, Palantir, all these names are down. And then you've got, again, Berkshire Hathaway up, you got JP Morgan up, you got Visa up. So when we're getting pulled in both directions, well, it's either tech raises to catch up, and that will cause the SPY to break through, or finance gives it up and starts to pull down, and that will have us sell. So internally, there's a battle going on.
Looking for the cues to break now. We'll see what happens. There is a battle. You're right about that for sure.
Two sides. Then even if you look at, right, so you can do this with each sector. So even if you go just into the NASDAQ 100, you're still seeing, right, consumer services, consumer non-discretionary communications, some retail doing well. So even within the Qs, which is very tech heavy, you're seeing that kind of push pull. But the S&P 500, which of course isn't as tech heavy, again, you're seeing finance and health just really, really carrying our weight there. Lilly is something that I'm watching. I own some from a rotational strategy that I've got going. But I really eyeing this support right here. And it's just such a clean trade. You take, around here, your stop's probably under $700. So you're risking 20 to maybe $50 a share. If it gets even halfway back into the range, it's like $100. So you're 2 to 1 there. If it gets back to the high of the range, if it gets through the high of the range, then it's just the risk reward is just crazy. Just such a cleanly defined support, right?
Yeah, keep looking for that. I think that's the important part of this market right now. Risk to return, right? Because you can keep going after these high flyers, and that's okay if you see the risk to return on the setup. Make sure that the risk to return is making sense. And right now, I think that's what I'm going after. That's why I'm even going after these. It just makes sense for me. There's more reward on the pullback right now than the continued drive higher on the names that I'm going for, right? But you have to be going for the names that are right here. Like Ethereum, to me, it just makes more sense for it to come on a pullback more than the extension higher. Right here, I might get stopped out of a little bit of some TSLL. I'm willing to risk off the 1441s, but I only got 1 penny here to give here. That would be a $16 stop out though. We're talking very small here on TSLL, looking to see if the Qs wanted to break, but they don't. They go for the up move for the 517. And what do? I cut out. Take the very, very small hit there and continuing to trade the day up still about 139, 140, and gave up a little bit of that gain right there, right? So let's keep working. Let's see what we can do today.
Yeah, we just
SPY trying up, so you could see some bounces back to the resistance.
SPY through pre-market highs now. Nice significant kind of move there. That was the number. Remember, we had those 2 numbers. So now that they're out of the way, the SPY might actually go where it wants to. So that was home sales. So what XHB might be one to look at to see how that's reacting. Nice little bounce there in home builders, although really generally beaten up, especially today. So over the last 3 days, home builders fell pretty significantly, but getting a rally off of that number, and then the SPY getting a rally off that number as well. Stopped right at the 2-day VWAP, which is 587.17, right to the tick. So it might take a bit to get through those.
ETHU bounced right off that 60 spot where I was kind of looking at it this morning and just bounced right off of it. A wick to it. Now it's back up almost to the VWAP. I'll look to see if it gets above 62 and then gets hit again. I think we got to give the stocks a little bit of time here, maybe like 15 minutes to see if we can actually hold a trend here in any direction. Is it up or down? But can we hold one trend? If not, then we could have chopped the first hour of the day. And if we have hours of the day, I already got a cushion trade, right? Nice trade on the first one. Don't want to give up all those gains right now. Got to wait for the right setup to push with the gas pedal. Name that's holding up all day long, Archer. And I've talked about with Archer, look for the sympathy plays. So you have up, wheels up, and then you also have Blade as another one. Blade looks interesting as it's starting to come back towards the 350s.
Yeah, played this Backett holding just came through. This one's
Backett.
very interesting to me.
That's a crypto one, I'm pretty sure.
It gapped up and it looks like it's reversing a little bit here. So if it's crypto and it's going up with Bitcoin not, that is very interesting to me. So that's something I got to keep an eye on there.
Earnings on Monday.
So yeah, it gapped up on earnings. Looks like it's holding here pretty nicely, holding that gap.
Yep.
Just an interesting looking.
It's good for the 14 break here.
Chart. Yeah.
I like the hourly chart too, especially. You can see a nice little trend line break. Pullback to the 9 EMA on the hourly would give you a really nice look. That's a pullback towards 1302s here, or like 1320s, but it might just hold the VWAP here, as it did make a nice clear break to the upside. So I would love a pullback to the VWAP here on BKKT. Some people are going to try to trade this 14 break. I think it might do like a 14 tap and then pull back. So just be careful with that, right? Those little tweaks above hold numbers, and then they just sweep them. But I really like this if it's back towards like this 1330s or 1350 area. That's also the area of breakout. So like if you were going on the first buy at 1350s, I would like to see it hold that 1350 on the extension. What's up out there, my small traders? It's good to see you guys in the chat. What's up? What's up? How we doing, man? What's going on out there? Ion Q holding that 33 move. Today might be the day where I don't trade it and that thing goes to the moon. Look at the bunch up pattern here on Ion Q. That's nice consolidation right there. It could take it at any moment.
Yeah, IonQ, these kind of things with the market, right? Trying to break through, it broke through those highs, but trying to hold those highs might be a catch-up trade. And some of these, the more junky names might start to get involved as well. I'm still watching UNH. It's still hanging under those zones. People are bullish on semiconductors. Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things. It's semiconductors are kind of the new transports in this market. So it might not be that they're overall bullish, but if the market's going to go higher, semiconductors are going to go higher with them, right?
Might get a quick dip to 3350s or like 3366 on that Ion Q. That's kind of the way that I would maybe play it if I could get a shot. But ETHU back at VWAP, yeah, it's near there. I would like it to pop towards 62, kind of hit this resistance and then fail there. But it could fail right here at 6150s and then it's right back to 60. So it's nice, risk to return. That's what we're talking today. That's where I think the focus needs to be. I don't care if you're long or short. Really don't. I don't think Michael does either. The key we would care about is that you do it the right ways, right?
Yeah.
You keep the mentality on, right? That's why you'll see like sometimes Michael and I be on separate trades, but we're gonna focus on doing what we know best, right?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of perfectly played there, Mitch, just because if you zoom out on Ethereum and the Ethereum chart that I showed you, it's range bound. And we talked about how the market is range bound. We talked about everything's range bound. So it's one of those that when Mitch saw some money and he's reminding himself that the market is gone nowhere yesterday, and so far it's gone nowhere today either. So you take profits, right? You take your money and you move on, you know?
And in this market, it's very prudent to try to make a cushion because you never know when the next big move is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things is if you have a cushion on the day, when you see a big move, you don't feel scared. You feel like you can take part in it, right? Because you have that cushion to play with. You can tell yourself, hey, I'll give the $80 on one trade to see what I can do here. But when I feel like it's really bad is when we're like just break even and then we see a break move and we've been struggling all day. We've been like back and forth all day. It's hard to take that next trade. Your mental capital is just like starting to deteriorate. And as you trade more and more every single morning, like from the morning on to the afternoon, you get less sharp. There's a reason why traders leave the desk, right? If you stay here from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., realize at some point your skill level is going to look like a downward declining line.
Yes. And that's huge because, right, we and it's one of the reasons too why I'm, such a proponent on kind of systematic and robotic trading is because you're 100% right, Mitch. You can't decision making is really hard, and there's been a lot of studies showing that decision making. I'm gonna turn off my camera here for a second. Decision making is a muscle, and
Yeah.
it's why if we are cheating on diets and things like that, we are doing so generally at night. It gets harder and harder to
That's a
make
nice.
decisions and to make correct decisions as the day goes on. We get exhausted, and just even when you go to the gym, even and you work out, it's generally speaking your nervous system that gives out before your muscular system. So yeah, don't take that for granted. That every single decision you make takes a little bit of a chunk off what you have each day, right? So
100%. You know what's one interesting thing that I'm seeing right now? Hims is still dropping. Palantir never came back to VWAP, telling me more and more these euphoria names are slowing down. I'm not taking the trade just yet because the SPY hasn't broken down below the VWAP. But if that happens, that's going to be the sign, right? So I'm being patient, even though the price action is telling me something. Price action's telling me that the euphoria names are not wanting to continue riding higher. ARM, another one of those, right? ARM has been a nice breakout, but look at it today. It's really weak and not coming back to VWAP. That's a sign, right? That's a sign that we're near the topping action. Short term, very short term thinking, but we're near that sign. So I need to just watch to see if these can come to cut the VWAP, right? Then VXX could really kind of take off here, right? You could start to see some breakdowns. Look at HIMS. HIMS is telling me it. That's a perfect bull trap out the gates, and it didn't give you a chance. If you were a bull and you were like, oh no, but the market's coming up, I can get out on the bounce, you just got washed.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then again, with these things, we zoom out, right? We take a look at HIMS on a longer term chart, and it's down to right where it was 2 days ago. So it's to the point where it might be interesting to look to flip and reverse something like that. But nice reject on ETHU. Yeah. So yeah, we are back under that zone, right? So this is one of those liquidity grabs, kind of whatever you want to call it here, where we talk about all the time. There's a pretty sizable level at this 586.50. We challenged it in the pre-market after those news. We challenged it right off the open, and then we got back through it. But where did we stop? We stopped right at the 2-day VWAP right here, and now we're rejecting from it. So the news pop got us there, and then I don't know, people read the news again or whatever excuse we want to give it, but this seems like a bit of a liquidity grab where the people who were buying that breakout, they're getting shook. And then it might be that we sell off a bit and the people who short end up getting shook as well, where again, I'm going to do this all day. I'm going to zoom out and just say we are still inside this range, not even including this range right here, but we are stuck inside this range. And this reminds me a lot of what just happened right back here, where we had a nice gap up, some continuation. Then we spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days stuck inside this range. And again, this is worse for most traders than anything, where this is really hard to deal with because it's one of those things in which we have nothing going on. So it's important not to get chopped up in this zone. We could be entering another one of those zones as well, where we have no news going on. We have nothing that the market really cares about. So we end up chopping inside of this range here for another couple days. And this is the intraday action of what chop looks like. You break a level, you slam back down through it. You come back, you test VWAP, maybe you rip back through it. So that's why I have these two lines drawn and alerts set at these two lines. So my trading view here will go, okay, we're finally outside that range. We can take a look. We can potentially trade off it. But until then, right, we are range bound. So make sure you're adjusting what you expect accordingly. This is the unusual part of the market. We are now down to the usual part of the market in which we gap up. We maybe move 0.5% here or there, and then we close. The fun days might be over for a little bit.
Starting to see some good setups out there, guys. Coin for the drop. I'm short PLTU here. Looking for that to continue to drop here, guys. I'm looking at the VXX for 53.50 entry. If I can get in there, I will take it. Coin looks great off that 250 rejection. I couldn't get in there. I tried. I put out an order. It just didn't hit there at the 250s when it just dropped, and now it's at 249. So I'm not going to chase it there. But this looks good. This looks like a nice little kind of bear. Probably a pennant. I'd probably put it there, but you can see here, it breaks this support line. It can really start letting go. And on the daily, it just makes sense to me. Like this looks like a classic pullback on coin. We'll see what happens if coin can get back to 230s. PLTU is what I'm in here. I'm looking for a move back towards like 53. So this could be a multi-dollar move here. I'm looking for this to break the support here at 55.67 and really start to go. You saw me going with small size. Why? Because that's what Palantir needs. It's a fast mover. I don't need to jump big. I'm looking for it to really work. And then I'll worry about it kind of being big winner. Right now, it's just looking to see if the momentum can continue. Will the Qs break the support? Will the SPY break the VWAP? If it's back to the top, I can get out with a small loss there on Palantir. If not, if it starts to really break down the market, then I can look for ads on bounces. We'll see what happens there. DocU is another one that I liked on the downside. That's continuing to down. That did do a nice little pop here. That would have been a beautiful short, right? So this was on the playbook, DocU to the downside. And a lot of the strong stocks starting to drop there. So seeing it around there. Clean Spark also. So those Mara, same play. Look how this is the same play. Same play. We'll see what happens on that. Nice little move there on the downside there. Now VXX 53.50s. This is exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to take the shot there. I'm long here on 53.47s. I can hold on to the bottom there towards like 53.20s and even a little lower than that, $30 risk. Look for the break back towards the 54.20s. We'll see what happens on that one. Not a bad kind of 3-to-1 look here. And the key is I got the pullback that I needed there, which was slightly below VWAP.
I really like that those crypto miner callouts, right? Because I've been talking about all the time how these are not, they didn't participate in the up move of crypto. Yeah. You didn't get any juice from it because they're really, really hard businesses. So if they're not going to participate in the up move, that means they're relatively weak. So if crypto is going to sell off a little bit here, Mara is probably going to be the perfect one to take to the short side, because if it's not going to give you the upside of crypto, as soon as crypto starts breaking down, people are going to just get out of it and say, well, it's not doing what I want it to do, which is to give me some sort of leverage play to crypto. Well, then, now it's just a money losing business that doesn't help me out with crypto. So that's enough. Let me get over there. Let me get out of there. Markets, however, bouncing pretty significantly off of VWAP here, so we're holding this for now. The chop continues. I would be shocked now if we just came to new highs again after we had that liquidity grab. It seems like we should at least test potentially lows a day here, which is 583. Significant way to get there, but again, still that would still put us inside this range. We have not cleared that range yet, so we're just back at VWAP like a magnet. We get a little bit below it, it gets sucked back up. We get a little bit above it, we get sucked back down. So I'm looking now, right? Low of the day is 585. High of the day is 587. Those are kind of the two areas for me. That's also lines up with the 2-day VWAP, which we just stopped at a dime the second we got there and turned on the 2-day VWAP on the SPY.
516 break here on the Qs is going to get me shorting some other names here. I'm going for Zscaler, looking for the pullback on Zscaler here. ZS, it's a more expensive name, but I can go with smaller size and just keep trying to do these smaller size trades here, looking for the breakdown. There's the break of the 516. I'm not going to hesitate here. I'm just going to go for it here, and I can risk off kind of a dollar look here. 20 shares, nothing crazy, right? Just risking 20 bucks all around here and trying to expand this here. We'll see if it does come back to that level and get me out. But now I got 2 trades in the green, about 20 bucks, and starting to get some movement here. The key now is really starting to look to see if the SPY can really break down through the support, not just the VWAP, but the support. So now we've broken the VWAP. Now can we go breaking the 585s on the downside? 3 trades on, guys, 2 in the green,
Yeah.
starting to just open positions, but they're smaller to give myself what? More kind of diversity in the exposure.
It's a way to do it. I always liked Tasty Trade's mantra of the trade small, trade often. I always thought that was a great one because you're way better to do that than to take 1 to 2 large bets a day. Is to kind of spread them out a little bit, right? Because then maybe if you're wrong on the market and you have 4 or 5 shorts on, maybe 1 or 2 of those shorts still end up working out. Like we saw yesterday with HIMS. The market went nowhere, but HIMS sold off a little bit. So
yeah, good call out, Shock, when it went back to that good call on that ETHU. There you guys have it. I hope somebody nailed that second move, right? I nailed the first move. Somebody might have got the second move, right? That's it right there. I would be cashing at least a part of it for me right here. Because I like, this is the VWAP rejection play. This is a known strategy, guys. Break a support, short it, end it right there. Take the money. It rejects VWAP. You take half of it off there and you look to see if it breaks down further. If not, you can just get out, break even, or look for the bigger move. We'll see what happens here. I think you continue to watch to see the Qs. The Qs and the SPY still chopping a little bit here. Could go right back to the highs and kind of play a little bit of some chop before it kind of gets you out. So that's why you got to stay small right now on the risk to return. Small risk, looking for big return.
yeah, we're getting a little bit of a push off of VWAP here on the SPY, having a little bit of a rally. So it'll be interesting to see if we get back to those highs, what we end up having there. It's funny that the Qs though are a little bit relatively strong here, so we could see that again. We talked about this earlier. It was a mixed market with tech lagging and financials and healthcare leading. If tech catches up, that's obviously going to be a really bullish sign for the market, right? Because financials has been holding us up here and doing very well. And then we had the kind of anchor, I guess, the weight of some of these large tech names. And if they start to bounce, that might be an interesting kind of reversal there. So you got to keep an eye on some of those like NVIDIA and keep an eye. It's funny. I type in NVDL now for NVIDIA every time instead of the actual stock, turning into a degen.
Horrible. That's horrible, man. That's horrible, Michael.
The inside day on NVIDIA. I'm just going through some of these. Pretty much an inside day on Palantir. Pretty much an inside day on Apple. Google, definitely an inside day on Google. Inside day on ARM. So yeah, we haven't gotten any. The bears haven't made any headway. The bulls haven't made any headway on any of this big cap tech names. So they got to get something going in order to get out of this range. SPY just creeping its way back up to that over pre-market highs again, but creeping its way up to 2-day VWAP, which is right above us here.
Yeah, just back and forth a little bit there, guys. We'll see if we get some little bit more of a choppy chop.
Yeah, chopping is continuing. That we're now pulling back a little bit to VWAP. They're struggling here. We're struggling to get a direction going.
If you're looking for bullish setups, SMR doesn't look too bad, guys. Nice little recovery of VWAP there after a good little pullback, 3 or 4 pullbacks back below the VWAP, right back above. Maybe a 23 entry on a pullback doesn't look too bad. SMR, we'll see what happens, right? You see the waves, right? 1, 2, 3 on that 4th catch. Look back, then look for a VWAP hold, and then the continuation. We'll see if we can get it. Why does it come to this play? Well, a lot of times it's just more that trend line approach. You just broke trend line. Now give me the throwback look, right? So what I like to do is I look for like the bullish engulfing level, which was right around this kind of 2290s. You could either make your entry 2290s and risk down to the bottom, or you're making your entry 23 and you're risking on that 2290s. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I am Still watching this UNH. It stopped going down, which is generally the first cue to something go back up. So I'm loading up my investment account here as well, and I'm going to probably pop that second. I looked at it. I bought a third yesterday of what I want to put in, so I'll buy another third today. And then if we get to 200, I'd buy another third, or if like a week goes by or something, I'd buy that last third. And again, the idea is you buy, I'm looking to buy some of it. This is a long-term thing, right? Buy it here, hold it for a year. Fast forward, my bet is that I'm doing okay by then. But for the day trade, I'm looking for this and you get back through VWAP, which is still at 161, and we're at 261, and we're at 255. So still pretty long way to go there for the day trade, but certainly could happen. Again, it's going to be one of those things going to have, just like Boeing and just like the rest of these that get really battered. They're going to have big rip your face off rallies there.
Is UNH the day? No, it isn't. Still on the drop there, man. That thing is just, I'm talking about it. The monthly 200 level. We hit it.
Monthly 200. Whoo-hoo.
We hit it. The monthly 200. That's a 280. That's what I was saying, that I might be able to take part in the attempt to play hero on it. Honestly, I don't know, man. I think
that's me. I'm averaging in.
No bueno. The thing with that is that it's a nice strategy. It's not bad. Like, you can make money. What you said is right. The percentage back up is there. The question is, how much pain is too much? I think that's what traders need to know. How much pain is too much before you let this go? You need to know that before you get in, because you can slightly adjust if you're a newer style trader. I think this is a professional trade. I'll say it like this.
Yeah, it's not even, I'm not even looking at this as a investment, right? This is not a trade. This is me looking at the largest healthcare company in the world getting cut in a third, right?
Yeah, so the reason I say it is that I'm always in like different chat rooms and stuff like that, and I see it, man. How many people are saying that they're buying the dip in UNH? That's what scares me. No. That's what scares me. You get what I mean? There's like tons and tons of day traders trying to buy the dip. That's usually when it's not going to do it. When I see when I see people like capitulate and say, no, now I don't want this thing, that's when I probably want it. That's probably when I'm going to go in. And
so it's funny. It's the time frame is always way more important than any other part of the trade. Yeah, if you're saying, hey, I want to buy UNH and hold it for a week and I think it'll go higher, I'm like, you're crazy. If you're going to take a scalp on it
in the day,
you know, if you want to take a scalp on it, if you have a setup that you've tested, I think that's fine. If you want to buy it for an investment and you understand that it could go 30% lower before, you know, in 5 years from now, it's back at all-time highs, sure. But yeah, it's all about time frame, right? Again, I think the short-term time frames, what it's going to do in the next 2 minutes, it doesn't matter what the news was for what a stock does in the next 2 minutes or 10 minutes, right? It also doesn't really matter over the next 10 years. You know, where the news kind of really matters is what's going to happen over the next month, right? If there's more bad news that drops, things like that, that's what's I think
some squeeze out there. Mention ASST, KDLY. We're starting to get these smaller caps coming back into play, guys. KDLY holding above the VWAP now.
Isn't ASST? Isn't that the Solana one?
That's the killer. The killer, the one that went up 1,400%. It's bouncing.
And then with Solana down on the day. It's interesting. That's an
nice
interesting looking daily chart. I like that daily chart. Orderly pullback, right? It's still you know, from 8 to 5, so it was still pretty substantial, but it wasn't a panic sell off, right, by any means.
We're still like hanging out on the 15-minute candles on the SPY. That's what I'm watching here, guys. If you guys want to know like what's going to give me the sign, is you give me a close above that 56.50s, I will change tune. I will stop looking for shorts, guys, at least until like maybe the afternoon, or I see a meltdown kind of happen. That's the level right now. Why? Because we still haven't put a close above that. You know, we did a couple of wicks up there, but this candle can change to red right now, and then next thing you know, we're back down to 584. So I don't know, man. That's why I'm hanging in there. That's why I'm with these trades, and you can see they're pretty much break even. So that's telling me that I'm at least not in a bad spot. I'm not just down big on the position. That's a really big sign that maybe your timing is completely off, right? That's usually a sign that tells me, well, man, I mean, even if it does come back to you, you're still not going to be in the green. That's trouble. That usually means that I'm in a really bad position. Now, if the positions are break even and we're near inflection point, I don't feel like I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah, no, it's looking great. Relative weakness, right, is the word there, right? You're looking everything's relatively weak to the overall.
Rejecting right there. I mean, Palantir didn't want to come back. That's a sign. Those momentum names not wanting to come back because they easily can, right? These are the ones that go when they go up, they run traders over. Let's see if they run some traders over on the downside, and you start to really get that rejection. So it gave the look here for it to come back, and then now it's just rejecting. So that's a nice reject. Now I wouldn't even want to see it by VWAP. VWAP tells me I need to get the hell out. If anything, I can start to add now. So let's go ahead and let's do that action here.
Yeah, the SPY is right back down to VWAP, flirting back with VWAP again. So
just added here, guys. Now I'm going to go really for the short, and I'm going to bring the stop down. Still $20 stop, but I'm bringing it down to 56.63, not at the VWAP anymore. So I'm just slowly adding to things and going for the win. See what happens.
Yeah, the SPY is again low of the day. I think we're smack dab in the middle of today's range, and at VWAP. So this is one of those. You kind of place your bets here because when the move happens, it's going to get a little bit harder with that.
Yep, that's what I just did, guys. Added on both positions, but kept it smart. Remember, I said $20 risk. I kept it at $20 risk on both trades. Even I'm adding, I'm just bringing the stop a little closer now. Now, make a move. I'm essentially telling the market, make a move.
Yeah, people said this with Moderna. Yeah, 100% right. Just like any trader investment. Totally 50-50 shot that I'm wrong on it.
Yeah, okay. I think the key too is that when you're looking at investments, I personally like to invest in a growth story, not the dying brand. That's just me. That's just the way that I like to invest, right? And that's why maybe I like SPACs, right? I like growth stories, but then I don't like buying dying brands. Like I couldn't invest in Starbucks. I have a friend that invests in Starbucks all the freaking time. He buys it all the time, and I just can't do it. I can't fathom myself to buy this company now. I feel like the growth in this company has come and gone. But hey, it's to each his own, right? I mean, that's just how it is sometimes, right? Like some people really like PayPal. I can't buy PayPal with a 10-foot pole. Like if I see a company go from 300 to 71, I just don't, unless something can change in the business model, I don't see it ever coming back. And so those are the tough ones for me. I like buying news stories. Like for me, Toast would be the better one. So instead of buying PayPal, I would invest in Toast. Why? The growth outlook is way higher. It's a newer entry player, can still mess with the growth, can pull in different levers, and could have a better outlook in the long run than PayPal from this valuation, right? So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and I always look at it as that you never know what's a growth story until it starts growing. So, it's just different styles of investment. Like Amazon at what point dropped 90 some odd % before it had any potential of its move, right? So you don't really know for sure, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd love to get Amazon." They zoom out on this chart right here, and they say, "Oh man, if I had just bought the Amazon IPO at 7 cents and held it to $240, that'd be amazing." But then most people probably would have puked out Amazon right here at 20 cents, right? When this was the .com bubble, right? It fell 90 something %. 95% from its highs at that point, 95% drawdown. And people would look at that and say, well, now it's dead. So it's you have no way of knowing in advance. It took now, 10 years for it to get back to those highs, and then it finally started to make its move. So the question is, right, would you have been the guy selling Amazon here because it was dead, or right with the, now you have the hindsight saying, oh well, now it's great, but did the same thing 2022, 2023, right? It's one of those you don't know till after the fact. So you just got to come up with a plan, take your shot. You're either right, you make money, you're wrong, you lose money. At the end of the day, there's no way to know in advance, so you just have to manage risks, right?
Zscaler breaking. I'm looking at that one, but I have already 3 trades on. I'm like, do I go in 4th dip here? Do I go for another one? I went SQQQ long, guys, just to add another one in to the playbook here. 3 trades on, guys. Palantir really dropping there. Money. The dash for trash is done, guys. That euphoria move looking like it's getting stomped. And Hims is one of the ones that gave me the insight. Hims just keeps going down. That's a miss for me today, but definitely Hims going down there is just one of those. Palantir, quick drop there. That's what I want to see. Now we can really start to get going here. And I can't lose on Palantir now. I'll be smart because the rips back on Palantir can be wicked, right? And so I got to be smart there. Now I bring this one to break even and I let it work. Because if it's going to really break down and the SPY is going to break down here, this could really drop fast, right? SPY back to 584. Oh, I'm golden PLTU. And I have the leverage one. So definitely don't need to be chasing too much. Just let the stock work. Let it work for me, not me work for it, right? And the key is going to be if it can reject this 55.63 on a 1 minute, bounce here and don't get a close back above 56, back above this 9 EMA.
Yeah, 125 was the breakout on Palantir. That's where it broke on Tuesday. That's where it broke all-time highs. So it'll be interesting to see if it gets back to test that price. It's about $1 above. Because that was the all-time high break. So a back test of that, if it holds, would be good. But through that, it could be a little bit of a short-term top.
That could be a target right there, 124.28, kind of the close of that. Maybe use the high that day. That's the 125.25 that you talked about. But yeah, to me, it makes sense. 9 EMA pullbacks, essentially looking for those, right? The Qs gave us that sign too. Look at the slowing down action. Does this look like a roundabout? This looks like kind of how we had the V bottoms. Will we get a V topping action here?
I think it looks like a rest day, right? We are
100%.
We have not. Yeah, we're still Tuesday's low is still significantly below us, so we can sell off quite a bit more before we get anywhere near even Tuesday's lows.
Another break on ETHU, now down to 50.31. So shout out to anybody that's shorting Ethereum. Let's go. Boyle fell off the shelf. Of course, the Widowmaker, Chip.
She's a volatile one.
Dude, that thing's always gotten me. That's why I don't trade it anymore. If I do, it'd be the opposite, right?
Yeah, it's
Boyle.
It's a wild one, right?
Stocks. This looks like penny stock chart.
Yeah, it's just very hard. Like if you go to the UNG chart, it's done absolutely nothing in like 4 years. So it's one of those you have to be the only people making money off this just trading it, right? And Boyle's a good day trading instrument if you have some if there's some catalyst going on. I've just never done well with commodities for intraday trading at all, just because they're just so slow and I just don't have the patience to deal with them. So I get that you're leveraging up, but the thing with leveraging up is it doesn't increase risk reward, right? It just means less buying power is required. So that's why I like, these more the growthy or the Mag 7 or whatever type names that I trade. I just think there's more of a chance of a trend there.
Got an undercut there on the VIX. It's the VXX right off the support there. I got out there for a $20 haircut. Like I talked about, I would take it. I wouldn't fight it, right? So I still got the 2 positions on, looking for this to kind of keep working. We'll see what happens. Palantir is probably the best one and probably the one that I want to push on the most, especially on a day like today. So we'll see what happens here. And if the Qs do get back, Well, I'll get rid of the SQQQ here for a $10 loss. And if not, I think it could really start running here. It's above VWAP. Nice little setup. Could get back to pre-market highs. That already is a 2430s, but I think it could pop above that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the SPY is grinding to today's lows. Looks like it's bouncing off those a little bit for the day. Still getting this divide when you look at the heat map that financials are doing great. Visa, MasterCard, JP Morgan, CME is up 2.5%. Then you have tech go down, right? So that's why I think Mitch is focusing on the short to the tech side, because it's the relatively weak side of it, right? You wouldn't want to be shorting financials because they're doing the best, right? You'd want to be shorting tech because that's doing the worst. Same with healthcare, which is surprising, right? So we can't. Been a while since we said healthcare is being the thing holding up the market, but we have Abbott Labs up 3%, Johnson & Johnson up 2%, VRTX up 2%, Merck up 1%, Amgen up 2%. So yeah, a lot of these big names. That's what's holding us up. Otherwise, we'd be giving up the ghost there.
Defensive names, big part of that also, at least from what I can see on this scanner, and definitely seeing that. I mean, when you got every industry up but one, farm products is the only one that's down. Yeah, it'll be able to hold on a little bit here. Some beverages names holding up right now. Some grocery store names kind of holding things up right now. Confectioners not looking too bad here. It's interesting. It's interesting to see. Looking around, guys, to see where it is, right? What's the next move here? So a lot of times I'll look at this one, which is let's do the last 15 minutes. So what is moving in the last 15 minutes, not just from the open, last 15 minutes. Last 15 minutes leading the downside is still technology. Financials are also down from the open. At least they're still down a little bit here. They're not leading the market either. So I don't know if my scanner is just a little bit off, but at least this equally weighted one is not really getting that big of a lift. We'll see what happens. I mean, maybe the XLF is doing a little bit better because of certain names, right? Yeah, that would tell me more and more that it's just certain names. Oh, this answers it right here. It's just JPM. JPM had a hell of a day.
Right? So
Burke
is a big part of the XLF, and that's having a great day.
Here's an awesome day too. AXP.
All of them. Visa. There was some news this morning. I don't know what it was, but Visa hitting new all-time highs. MasterCard hitting new all-time highs.
Yeah, those are good. PayPal, no bueno. You know what I mean? Like, you got to know where you're in, right? And the credit cards, not looking too bad. The other ones are not looking bad. How's Affirm doing? Kind of hanging in there. Hasn't really done anything in this rally, at least.
Yeah,
still hanging in there, guys. Q's starting to come back a little bit there. We'll see if I get rid of the SQQQ. Still going to hang on to that Palantir, though.
It's it's a nowhere day, right? It's a chop day. So when you see profits, if you're long, take them. If you're short, take them. I've been doing pretty much nothing all day. I took that STXL trade. I can just summarize that real quick. That's the only trade I've taken so far. That was just a green arrow break through the VWAP. Bought it right there. Came to the 2-day VWAP. Wish I got sold. I had like my order just a couple ticks above, but when it gave up here, I got out. So it's just quick little scalp. I'm just waiting on the UNH. That's the only other one that I was interested in. The miss that I got on my personal account, but I wish I took elsewhere, was the Google, right? And this is why automated trading is so great, because I shorted right there and I got out right here. So that was like 50 cents or so, just kind of in a straight line. It was less than a 1-to-1 risk reward. Maybe that's why when I saw it kind of manually, I got out, but a trade's a trade. So that's it. I took that SPY trade, and then UNH got nowhere near. You can see nowhere near triggering at all. So this will be one of those. I'll have alerts set that will yell at me if this happens today. If it doesn't happen today, I won't take another trade. So that's the idea.
We'll see what happens on the VXX if it doesn't undercut and rally. That's one thing that I'd be looking at to see if we do get the downside action that I'm looking for. ARM's still pretty weak. AMD pretty weak all day long. I'm just keeping an eye on some of the momentum names. UNH new low on the day, keeps breaking 251.19 now. We'll see where that one goes. Maybe this is the day where it can do a capitulation bottom, but man, like I recommend, I think that's more of a kind of an experienced trade to kind of get into. UNH, we'll see if it keeps going. Maybe next stop 250s, 240s. I don't know what, maybe a weekly level I can give you guys. Even then, I think we're kind of far from the next weekly. Looking at like kind of some support or something here. Let's look at UNH here on the. I have it on the side chart there, but
it's one of those. I don't think I'm not going back. The reason I'm averaging in I don't think there's any levels. That's worth the damn on it. It's literally this is incredibly oversold type of play, right? It's
yeah. I look in between here. I like to see some. Where did we get some consolidation last? To me, it's in between here, like this 2018 times to 2020, where you went sideways, essentially didn't do anything with the stock for like 3 years. So in that area, some massive amount of accumulation could have happened, right? And bigger positions, right? So that's kind of the area where I'd look for it to kind of slow down. That's 208. So we're almost in the middle of that right now. That's kind of be the levels that I'd use. When I start to try to catch falling knives or big dips, I use the monthly. A shout out to my man Joel Conan. He's big on the monthly chart, and I've seen him catch trades like that so many times where everyone's all scared, but he uses monthly lows and just goes in off of that.
Yep.
So
no, I think it makes perfect sense, right? It's just
it's tough. It's tough to go on a monthly chart, but I mean, you got to find a level that you like and try to use that, right? Like nobody knows the right answer here. And it's all about UNH if they can change the disaster that's been there, right? Like Rando said, he feels like it's a solid business, but there's corrupt practices and things like that. So maybe there just needs to be that final cut, right? Well, they took out CEOs, right? They took out kind of who's building this. And I think that what you need to see is also a board shakeup. Board shakeup can really help, right? Just start to fire, and hire.
Well, and it's the difference too when it's systemic business. Like it's one of those UNH. From my reading, again, I'm Canadian, so we don't have these guys up here, but it's a systemic business. If you woke up tomorrow and UNH is gone, the entire country is completely in turmoil, and right there's things on fire, and it's one of those where same with Apple. If I woke up tomorrow and Apple was 30% or 50% taking a haircut, I'm buying because it's a systemic business. You cannot have iPhones just stop working. The same with this is you at some point, and this is why it's a DCA average down. It's not a trade, it's an investment. At some point, if things keep getting worse, the government just buys it, right? It's you cannot have this company not exist, right? So when you have companies like that you just can't have them disappear. It's not like a Foot Locker, which both me and Mitch agree should probably have gone bankrupt instead of gotten bought out for double what it was worth. No one would care. No one would bat an eye if Foot Locker didn't exist. It'd be just like Blockbuster, where we'd be talking about it years later. One of these things that happens, you go, this company has to exist. So the question is, where's the bottom, right? And I don't know. So that's why I'm averaging it.
I should have shorted this Valiance Health yesterday, guys. I was talking about it here, how they would come after this name, and it just looked like it had a beautiful bearish pattern, right? Like it just looked like it wanted to break the 400 and really let go. And look at that trade today, down to 364 today. That's almost 10%. On a big name like this, you don't get those types of trades, right? This is a name that you could have made a lot of money on. These are the types of trades where I think it's important to sometimes understand where your A+ setup was, right? This was an A+ setup for me. These are the types of trades where sometimes you need to take this trade and not watch the rest of the market, right? Or maybe you have a separate account where you're taking these bigger shots that have more like conviction that you need to take them. For me, it just made complete sense. There was that bank note that came out from Bank of America scared some investors, about the Medicare margins concern. And I think that started the reaction yesterday. And then there was more concern, more digging into what's going on here at UNH. And everyone wants to know, why does it keep going down? Why does it keep going down? And then they come out with this conversation from the Wall Street Journal, showing you more and more negative catalysts with the market leader that drips to the lag effect. So the other trades, even if it's on the best ride of the life, will probably take a pullback because the market leader in the space is getting disrupted, right? And really getting hit. And that's why you can look for maybe like a CVS also to trade down off of this, right? And I think that made sense to maybe look at these style of trades and look at CVS now, right? You're looking at it down and it's just piling down, right? Just hitting down, right? And this is another way that I think that you could maybe hedge your trade in UNH. You can be taking long UNH, short CVS, short Alliance Health. So you're making some money if the stocks keep coming down, protecting you in your UNH position and kind of like building that up. And then when it starts to come back, you can cut those and actually hold your UNH position for the ride, right? For the ride back up. Just one way that we can think about it, right?
Karen Finerman, who was a CNBC contributor a lot, actually worked on one of her hedge funds for a while, and that is exclusively her trading style, and she's been doing it for successfully for 30 years. It was all about, because we all know 70% of a market's or a stock's return will have to do with whatever sector it's in. It's around 70% of a stock's return. You can't have a successful weed stock right now because the whole sector is getting hammered. So what she would do is she would just take hedge bets within that. So it would be, I think Apple is going to outperform Google, or Bank of America is going to outperform JP Morgan, whatever it is. So for every long, there was a short within the same sector, within the same kind of competitor. And what happens there is you obviously deeply cap returns, but then you also deeply cap drawdowns, right? So her bet was that JP Morgan is a better run company than Bank of America. So if all of the financials collapse, she's fine because she's short one, long the other. And if they rip, she loses or she doesn't make as much money. And what happened was, again, working with her fund for years and years, just very smooth, consistent type returns, like 10, 15% a year, every year. Even during the GFC, there wasn't much. The only time she broke character, which was amazing, she actually had a great trade in the great financial collapse. And the reason was because she pulled off all her shorts and just left the longs on at one point. And it just became, she was saying, well, what do I have these hedges for if I'm not going to pull them off when the market's down, 60% or whatever it was at its lows, right?
It's an interesting trading strategy, right? I mean, I think
Pairs
it's
trading,
an important one, right? Pairs trading and risk arbitrage, right? And taking that approach. It's interesting. It's one that I really say that I try to learn more and more from other traders, right? It's important to find those traders that do well in this space and speak to them, learn from them, and how you can go about it. Another big thing is testing these positions, right? And learning how you can play it, right? A lot of it is determining sizing, right? What sizing I need to short Palantir, to hedge to this. And so you got to start getting better at that. A lot of people use like a kind of a calculator or something to kind of give you that information. Michael has things like this that he uses on his charts to determine risk, but things like that are very important. I think you have to use, in the day and age where we have AI, try to use that to help you determine this also, right? So
again, this is a very simple, the idea is Coke and Pepsi is what people always, right? So you can even just do KO versus PEP, and that roughly they're going to move the same. So this chart just kind of shows on a daily chart, at least from 2024 onwards, Coke is dramatically outperforming Pepsi. So your bet is that if you buy Coke and you short Pepsi, then if there's something that spooks the entire drink market, doesn't matter, and if you'll be good. So you could do the same with any of these. You could do JP. Let's do my other example: JP Morgan versus Bank of America, and if this chart goes up, you're saying that JP Morgan is going to outperform Bank of America, which it, again, it has been here since 2022. So if your bet is that's going to continue, that JP Morgan is a better run company than Bank of America, you take that bet. But you got to understand, you are basically capping the ability that the market generally goes up over time. You're not participating in that. What you're just doing is you're saying, I think XYZ company is trading better than other companies. So you lower risk, but you lower return. And that's just the way it always works in the market. If you're lowering risk, you're 100% always lowering potential return. There's no way around that.
Yeah, I just think about it in the percentage returns, right? Remember, at the end of the day, day traders, guys, if you guys can just beat the SPY continuously, you're doing a good job as a trader. And I think that's where a lot of people get it twisted, right? They think, well, I don't want to give up the returns. I don't want to give up the massive upside approach. Realize there's only very few like traders in the world that are going to be getting hundreds of % of return on a consistent manner. Very, very few. I would say like in a handful. Would you kind of say that too, Michael? I mean,
well,
of course, it's just a thought process, but.
And I would even look at, right, again, the book that I always recommend, the series of books I recommend every new trader read is the Market Wizards books, because you're getting interviews with the best of the best. And he verifies through independent auditors that these guys' accounts are real and the best of the best. And then start looking at their returns. And these are the absolute, if you are in a Market Wizards books, you are one of the top 1% of our industry. And yeah, they're generally not even in doing that much. Like, he's interviewed Paul Tudor Jones and George Soros, and even down to a lot of the turtle trader guys. Like, these guys, just insane returns. So yeah, use those as kind of your benchmark, and because it's a competitive game. So if you think you're going to make hundreds and hundreds of % return every year, that means you're saying you're better than the greatest ones that ever existed. Now, we do have one benefit over most of those people that should help us a little bit with returns. Now, we're small. Right, we can get into and out of positions very quickly. The larger you are, the harder it is to make outsized returns, because you affect the market. Getting filled is a hard time. So, and I'm gonna nitpick. I hate that stat. 80-90% of hedge funds don't beat the SP 500, because that assumes that that's their mission, is to beat the SP 500. Most hedge funds, it's not their mission at all. Most hedge funds, the entire point of it is uncorrelated returns. So like this Karen Finerman hedge fund that I talked about, her job is not to beat the S&P 500, right? Her job is to have a very consistent risk-adjusted return. Because if you're investing in a hedge fund, you have to be an incredibly wealthy individual. So you better believe you already have a few $1 million just sitting in the S&P 500, right? What you're looking for is there are hedge funds out there that lose money every year. They're basically like insurance policies. The hedge fund on purpose loses money every year. But what happens is, on incredible, crazy events like what just happened in the market, they make a killing. There's going to be a lot of hedge funds out there that made 1,000% return. But over the next 10 years, they're going to lose 10 to 20% a year. But what happens is, if you're an investor, you put some of your money in there, and then when they have these crazy outsized returns when the market is tanking, you're redeeming from that hedge fund, and then you're using that money to buy stocks on the cheap, right? So yeah, that whole stat of most hedge funds don't beat the market, again, it assumes that that's what they're trying to do, which they're not, right? They're just uncorrelated income streams for incredibly rich people.
All right, guys, SPY trying to clear that 15-minute spot here. This is the big spot. This is the watch. The watch has been on since this morning's PPI. Can it clear it? Can it clear it, guys?
And we got the 2-day VWAP just overhead. So again, we came and tapped it pretty much to the tick. I wish to the tick, because then I would have gotten filled here instead of down here somewhere. But we're snaking our way back up there. So through the 2-day VWAP, again, the significance of the 2-day VWAP just means that the average market participant over the last 2 days is now making money. Less significant, in my opinion, when you are, again, just completely range bound where we are, where the market's not doing too much, and the and we're not outside of any prior day's range, right? So
I got out there, guys. The Palantir, I think it was like a $2 loss there. Nothing as a loss. Really, it's just more no need to stay in here if it's going to come to the VWAP. That's what I'm watching for on Palantir to see if it does want to come back to VWAP. If not, it could still reject and still go right back to the lows. I think it's just going to be more a matter of I look at the market and I see here at the top end of the range, is there a point in me shorting at this point? No, I still need to see the cues and the SPY go in my direction for me to stay short. And so it's easier to get out and then see if I can get back in later. This is where I think a lot of traders need to do in this environment, especially as we continue until we see what happens when we actually do get a pullback, what's going to happen there. Because the stair step climb higher is like this. It's pullback days, stair step, rip higher. And you can get really run over on these types of trades. That's why you see me willing to get out and get back in. Also taking the money when it's available, like on that Ethereum trade, right? That's what gave me the cushion all day to take some more trades, betting to the downside. Any of those trades go well, and I have a killer day versus a decent day, right? And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to stay in the okay days and then have killer days, right? That's what we want to be kind of doing right now, especially as we're playing Survivor right now in this market. Palantir rejecting a little bit. The Q's trying to make the move there. We'll see if it can do it. 517's a fighting spot right now. And on the SPY, it's this 586.50s. Look how we even go sideways on it. It just seems like we can't get above it. What do you got here, Chris?
It's just swing trade that just came through. So I got to look at that mean reversion.
I'll take a look a little later.
But I was looking at that crowd weave. Our boy Walter, CRWV, they signed a $4 billion additional deal with OpenAI. First of all, the weekly chart on that looks amazing.
Anything with OpenAI right now.
Right. So that's a nice kind of rounded bottom on today's action, working its way back up to pre-market high. So this is one I'm going to keep an eye on because these IPOs are sometimes really interesting for trade. And again, right, you got all the buzzwords there, right? You're talking, you got to deal with the AI company.
Yeah.
I think that's very
doing a classic IPO move, right? Undercut the open and then really rally.
And look at that. That daily candle.
Classic IPO trade, right? There's literally traders that trade that that standard trade. They're like literally egging for it to break that low on the 36, and they jump in right on that day where it breaks 36, goes to 33.50s, and then look how much they're up now. Those people are up 80% on this position, right? And so this looks good, man. And I hear more and more mentions about betting on anything to do with OpenAI. So many people trying to bet on it, on what's going on here. I think it's
you can't buy the actual thing. That's exactly why, and like people are frustrated, so they're like, just give me exposure to this somehow, right?
Any way possible.
You know?
I was hearing people mention it too. I even saw Dumb Money put out a video on it. So hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So just to summarize the day, right? This is what happened today, and I think it's important just to sometimes zoom out. This is the opening print, and this is where we are now. We haven't done anything, but like me and Mitch have been talking about a lot. Go, grab a sandwich, take a walk, and then come back, because it seems like the afternoon, if we go into yesterday, the afternoon, we got some wild action. Still didn't end up closing and doing anything, but we got some wild action there. So, it's probably one of those same kind of markets. Go stay tuned for the afternoon. Maybe we'll take a little bit of a move there finally. I'm still going to be stocking the UNH, so if it breaks back through VWAP, I'm buying some, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. That's how the market is, guys. Back and forth action. Like always, we'll continue battling. I hope you guys enjoyed the battle here all week. It was a battle week. I had a nice green week. Was able to bounce back after a little bit of some rough action, especially as I went through that little personal rut kind of stage to get, when we all have things in lives that affect us. The key thing, stop the bleeding, back at it, bouncing back, having a great week this week, and not going to ruin it tomorrow, right? One of the key things of my thing is very important is if you have a good week, the number one way to ruin a good week is have a horrible Friday.
Don't F up Friday is what I was always taught. That's
up Fridays, man. Yeah. You can have an awesome week and just ruin it on that Friday because you think that you have it made a lot of the times.
Well,
why?
And Yeah, even if it's still a positive week, say you're up $1,000 on the week and you give back 500, you're still mad, even though you're up made
Yeah, you're
500
still
bucks on the
mad.
week, right? So yeah, just trade smaller on Fridays. Better for your mental health.
Yeah, and I think it has something to do with that thing that we talked about, how the all day trading, right? Well, think about it
Mhm.
just like this. Like you trade all week, right? At Friday, you've been trading 5 days in a row. You're probably sleeping less in the weekdays than you do on the weekend. You start to be slower. That just
Mhm.
makes sense, right? Like you're not going to be as sharp on a Friday as you're as sharp on a Monday morning.
Yep.
Perspective
Exactly.
always for you guys right here. Trade the pool. That's what we're here for, guys. We're really here to give you guys education, perspective from you guys, learn from the experience from my trading and Michael's. Two very different trading styles, trying to bring up conversations. And if you guys have questions on trading, different topics you guys want to talk about, right here is the best place to do it. You guys here, Michael and I, we can talk about pretty much anything in finance and really kind of
Mhm.
expand it for you guys. So reach out to us. Let us know what you want to learn more from, and stay tuned for more and more from swing trades. Swing trade accounts coming soon. I don't know, guys. I heard a rumor on the vine. Shake that tree. We just might get some fruits. See you next
Let's
time.
hope.